Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 6:29 p.m. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of December 9th.
The listed meeting time is 6:30. I know you started at 6:29.
Yeah.
And I just, we can't start any earlier. It has to start.
Okay, that's fine.
Now. I just want to
It's 6:30 now.
yeah.
Okay, we did not do anything of substance between 6:29 and 6:30. I will put that on the record. And it is now 6:30. Thank you to our diligent reporter. Okay, staff, so first order of business would be a roll call.
Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Woodward,
Present.
Vice Chair Amir,
Here.
Chair DeFever,
Here.
and Commissioner Sai is absent.
Okay, thank you very much. First, before we turn to the noticed agenda items for the evening, we have an opportunity for general public comment on anything that's not on tonight's agenda. So if you're here for any of the agenda items, you will have an opportunity to speak during those segments. But does anyone wish to speak on something that's not on the agenda? And if so, you can come up to the table and sit in front of the microphone and tell us your name. Any takers? No? Seeing none. Chris, do we have anyone on Zoom?
Chair DeFever, we have no public comment from the Zoom audience.
Okay, so moving forward, do we have a staff briefing?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner DeFever. I'm Neil Toff. I am have been the interim planning director for the last several months since early July in place of Dina Tassini. I have not had an opportunity to work with the commission in that time, but glad to be here tonight. And as you're probably aware, we do have in my time being here, I was interim while the town was in the process of recruiting for a new director. And fortunately, they were very successful in recruiting our new community development director, Sherry Meads. She started yesterday. That was her first day. She's doing a lot of filling out a lot of paperwork, doing the onboarding, and she'll be attending the meetings from here out. And but I think town's very fortunate, and I'm glad to be able to make that announcement.
Thank you.
And then the only other item of business I wanted to let you know is that last week's city council meeting, the council did do a second reading and adoption of the 2025 California Building Code update. So the town has now adopted the code by reference, including local amendments. The town does have many local amendments that include largely what you might term as higher review standards for things that are often exempt from building code. So we do require building permits for a number of items that are typically exempt from building code and a few other types of local amendments. We have also adopted CalGreen Tier 1 standards, as well as some energy code updates to really align our codes with the climate action plan and our sustainability goals. We think these are about as strong as we can do in achieving those goals while meeting the state regulations that both encourage sustainability and climate action, but also sort of limit how far a town can go or an agency can go in regulating these things. So, and a lot of that work I have to give credit to Grace Ledwith, our sustainability coordinator. She's really the one who led the effort on that front. So that's all I have for announcements this evening.
Okay, well, thank you, Neil, and thanks for being with us during the months that we desperately needed your assistance. And welcome, Sherry. Did you want to say a couple words about yourself? So we're meeting you for the first time.
Hi, good evening, Chair. How do you say your last name?
DeFever.
Chair DeFever and council member, commissioners. I'm Sherry Meads. I'm the new Community Development Director. I'm super excited to be here. Most recently, serving as the Community Development Director up on the far north coast for the city of Fortuna. I lived in Ferndale, which was another small jurisdiction, very charming, very beautiful. So I feel like I haven't given up anything in that area, but very excited to work in a community that is interested in environmental stewardship and historic preservation and all of the things that really drove me into this position. Started as a registered nurse, decided that wasn't for me, went back to school and became a planner and then moved on up. So I'm very excited to be here. We've kind of started talking about some of the projects, which are really exciting, and you'll see me a lot. So I appreciate everyone's warm welcome, and I'm very excited to be here. I live in the community, so I'll get to know everybody hopefully very soon.
That's the benefit of a small town. You really will. You're gonna
Yes,
see us out.
yes, exactly. There's no escape.
No, there really isn't. Well, welcome. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. All right, next we will look to our minutes. We have one set of minutes to review. They're from the date of June 11th. Does anyone have any comments or revisions for these minutes from June 11th? I see they're quite short. I remember that meeting was just to take data on, I believe, the landmark issue that is in front of us tonight. Anyone?
I
Commissioner
have
Williams?
nothing and seen no other comments. I'd move to adopt the minutes.
All right, and we have a second from Commissioner Woodward. Can we take a roll call, Chris? A roll call vote?
Commissioner Amir,
I'll abstain. I wasn't there.
Commissioner Woodward.
Yeah, aye.
Yes. You have to answer.
We're
I
so
know.
rusty.
Commissioner Williams
Aye.
and Chair DeFever.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we've passed the action minutes from June 11th. Next up, our first action item is the election of chair, which will be followed by the election of vice chair. We have struggled with this in the past because we haven't been meeting as often, and then we don't like to nominate people who are not here. And as all the commissioners know, we rotate, so we have to figure out how to deal with this. We have in front of us the position terms from the past, from 2019 to today. I have been chair, I think, for about a year, almost exactly. So typically, the person who would follow me, I think, is Jeff Sy, but he's not here with us. Yes, Jeff follows me. But then we also have Commissioner Amir, who's been vice chair twice. So maybe we should start with Commissioner Amir. How do you feel about serving as chair, or did you want to rotate out without doing that?
Look, I don't mind being chair unless, Eric, do you want to, you haven't been, if you're interested anyway. It's,
Declines.
from my perspective, there's not a big difference between chair and vice chair. It's more about, when you can make meetings, et cetera. So, that's kind of my take. Yeah.
Commissioner Woodward, would you like to be vice chair or chair? Would you like to rotate in?
I'm happy to do vice chair and start my rotation.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Right, great. All right.
I
Okay.
can kick things off by nominating Commissioner Amir to be the next chair.
I will second that. Public comment
Oh, thank
during the chair election, is that allowed even? Do I have to open the public forum or? Okay. All right. Well, then we will pause deliberations to see if we have any public comment about the election of chair and vice chair. Okay, I'm seeing none. Is there any on Zoom?
There are no public comments from the Zoom audience.
Okay. All right, I will close public comment and go back to the discussion that was open. Commissioner Williams, would you like to renominate?
Absolutely. I'd be delighted to nominate Commissioner Amir to be our next chair.
All right, I will re-second that motion. Can we get a vote on that, Chris?
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Woodward, Chair DeFever,
Aye.
Vice Chair Amir.
Aye.
Okay, so now we need to vote on the vice chair, and since we now have willingness from Commissioner Woodward to join the rotation, I'm going to nominate him as vice chair and just lead.
Second, resoundingly.
All right, Chris, could we get a vote on that?
Commissioner Amir,
Aye.
Commissioner DeFever,
Aye.
Commissioner Woodward,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Okay, and in the past, I know from personal experience, I have declined to be the chair the night that I'm elected, but Commissioner Mir, if you are prepared, I am happy to hand you the chairmanship just right now.
I'm actually not fully prepared, to manage the meeting today. So why not, if you're okay, Commissioner DeFever? if
I'll
you
be happy
can-
to do that. I think others have done that for me in the past.
Thank
so-
you. Thank you.
So let's make that, in the notes, make that effective for the next meeting, starting the next meeting, the rotation will be effective. Okay. All right, I think we can close that. We've made our decisions on the chair and vice chair. So up next, we have our public hearings. Public hearing one is 1 Bernini Way, Blackie's Pasture overflow parking area, which is more commonly referred to as the Chipper Days. We're going to review the permission for the Chipper Days, which have been ongoing for many years. So before I get into that, let me, hold on here. First thing we ask for is the staff report, if we have one.
Sure. Thank you, Chair and members of the commission. I will make this brief. We're putting up on the screen is the graphic that kind of displays the Chipper Day operation as it's been approved. And this is a event that initially was approved by the Planning Commission as a conditional use permit for the Chipper Days event in 2022, and it was approved. It's an opportunity for residents to bring their vegetative yard debris to the Blackie's pasture to have it hauled and dumped. The intent, and this is really sponsored by the Tiburon Fire Protection District in an effort to enhance defensible space and reduce fire fuel load, I should say, in the neighborhoods. It operates on the second Saturday of May, June, July, August, and September. There are 5 Chipper Day events. It is co-sponsored by the town, supported by the Public Works Department staff as well. And it is certainly something that is a community benefit. The original hearings on this, there were some concerns from particularly residents in the immediate neighborhood regarding the use of Blackie's pasture. Some of that had to do with concern about chippers running, and if the Chipper Day event actually included chippers. Also, the DPW had and the town had employed the area for some pretty significant construction staging during some very large infrastructure projects. And I think that also triggered some neighborhood concern. So that was a discussion point during those hearings. The ultimate resolution was that the Chipper Day event would not have chippers during the event. It's merely to take the debris, so then it's off-hauled and chipped in by the waste haulers, and that the event is not really similar to construction staging, which now is not held in the park area anymore. So it was approved with very specific conditions of approval. Minor amendments were approved in 2024 to allow some additional dumpsters and expand the days to be off-hauled because there was need to give a little more flexibility for off-hauling. It's been hugely successful. There have been large volumes and tonnage removed each year. However, the conditions of approval for that CUP did require this yearly review, and that's why we're here tonight to conduct the yearly review. As I've stated in the staff report, we have received no complaints in quite a while regarding the operation. It does not appear to be controversial. Probably the most significant issue reported by the fire department is really having to coordinate the parking with sports events during the summer weekends, and having to make sure they identify and let parents, people know that there is some parking is a little more limited on those days. But otherwise, it's been a very successful ongoing event. And I don't know if we have anyone here. Obviously, there can be public hearing, but staff has identified that this has been through now, several public reviews as well as annual review. We have not received any complaints or controversy over it. And I have prepared because the commission can act to amend conditions at any time, I have prepared a revised amended resolution which would end the need for scheduled annual review. The commission would continue to have the authority to call the matter up if there is need to do so or reason to do so if we do get complaints. So we're providing that option, and I would also coach that this is a project sponsored by our fire department and our public works department. These are basically our public servants who are very accessible to the public. If there are issues that occur or anyone has concerns or questions, they can certainly contact the fire department and or our public works department to see if there are any things that need to be resolved. And certainly, again, they can take it back up with the planning commission. So with that, we would recommend the commission move to adopt the amended resolution as proposed, and certainly take any public comment on this. Also tonight, we do have Gary Musante from the Tiburon Fire Protection District, who's here just to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will do that. We'll open to, I guess we could call you the applicant as the representative of the fire department. Gary, welcome.
Yeah,
Is
thank
there
you.
anything you would like to tell us before we ask you questions?
Neil summarized it well. We were in ongoing discussions, and so I definitely want to thank the Planning Commission for all your support and help throughout the years on this, and the town. Neil, thank you very much for the last couple months. We went over a lot and provided some detailed, in the memo that we went over. So obviously, there are any questions, we want to address those, and if there are any concerns, absolutely, it doesn't need to be right here, but continually, we're here to follow up, and I definitely want to, be able to resolve if there are any issues in the future as well. So.
Okay, any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Musante? No, pretty straightforward. I have a curiosity question. I know you don't do the chipping on site at Blakey's Pasture. Where does it go to be chipped?
So Mill Valley Refuge picks it up, and I believe to Santa Fe is where they haul it to. That's the majority. If they're overfilled, they'll go to Novato landfill, but the majority is all to Santa Fe. So,
Okay, thank you for
yes.
letting me ask a
Sure,
completely irrelevant
absolutely,
question.
Any questions? Yep, I'm here for what I can. If there's any, I'd love to try to answer.
Okay, thank you very much. If you want to step back away from the podium, I am going to open for public comment. If anyone in the audience would like to ask a question or make a comment about the Chipper Days, you're welcome to come up to the podium. I'm seeing no one. Chris, do we have anyone online?
There are no public comments from the Zoom audience.
Okay, well then I will close. Gary looks disappointed. I will close the public comment period then and come back to the commissioners. Would anyone like to start their thoughts on this issue?
I
Commissioner Woodward.
Yeah, I think that as we've talked about in the past, the Chipper Days obviously help out the community and fit exactly within what we're trying to do here, even the 2040 plan and just thinking longer term about the health and safety of Tiburon. So I think we've seen very positive momentum from this over the past, and I'm glad that we got a proposal on a potential way to not have to review this every single year, except, you know, if issues come up or arise. So I would definitely be in favor of moving toward that. But glad that they're back here again, and we've had good success so far, and no complaints certainly in the last 12 months at least. So.
Absolutely. Commissioner Williams?
Oh, yes, I absolutely agree. This Chipper Days, I think, serves such an important and compelling public interest. It keeps us all safe. I do remember when we were here and during the pandemic, actually, we were all on Zoom and there were some concerns, and it's just really wonderful to see how well, just wanted to commend the fire department and the town for doing such a wonderful job. And also, it's so wonderful to see how the community has embraced it and how much use is, how successful it's been. So I wholeheartedly support granting this ongoing conditional use and adopting the resolution.
Thank you. Commissioner Amir?
Yeah, I'll, I concur with my fellow commissioners. I mean, I've actually used, Chipper Day a couple times, and I think it's worked very well in terms of providing kind of safety for the community. And I think it's very well run in terms of, the parking and the traffic. So I think it's, this program's been going on for a number of years, and it's been very successful. And yeah, I support the revised, this is all about streamlining, I think, public interaction. Let's make it just easier. And if there's really any complaints, it can come back to us in the future. But if we don't need to bring down the fire department here once a year to talk to us, I think that saves everybody's time.
Thank you, Commissioner Amir. I agree. I don't see any problems with this. It's been all positive. We don't have any negative feedback. And to state the obvious again, it's absolutely a great idea to get the dry and dead vegetation off of the properties in Tiburon. As we know, fire danger doesn't get lesser over the years, unfortunately. So thank goodness we have a proactive fire department addressing that, and commend the fire department. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to see how successful it is. And as Commissioner Amir said, making the change to basically not create extra work when everything's going well and to alter the resolution a bit so that we are not automatically needing to have it in front of us more often. I also support that. So let me turn to the staff and ask you, are we okay with just moving to approve the resolution in front of us, or do we need to discuss anything else? That's okay. Okay, I thought so. It looked like it was complete. All right, anyone?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the revised resolution.
Okay, Chris, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Woodward, Commissioner DeFever,
Aye.
Commissioner Amir.
Aye.
Okay, great. That is a unanimous pass of the resolution. Thank you again to the fire department. I think we can move on to public hearing number 2. All right, public hearing number 2 is 841 Tiburon Boulevard, review of the amendment to a conditional use permit that was granted in March 2025 to allow amplified music to be played during events at the Landmarks Arts and Garden Center. So let's start with the staff report, which I know that we have one, if they're ready.
Yes, so I'm just gonna wait just a second.
Yeah.
While it loads on the screen. But good evening, Madam Chair, newly elected Chair and newly elected Vice Chair, Commissioners and members of the public,
Erica.
everyone. Okay. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to conduct the year-end review of the amendment to the conditional use permit for the Landmarks Arts and Garden Center that was approved earlier this year, allowing, pardon me, allowing for amplified music at special events. Just an overview, there have been quite a few meetings. The initial hearing for this application was at the March 26th meeting. It was approved with conditions requiring noise monitoring and the addition of interim and end-of-season reviews. The decision was appealed to the town council and reviewed at the May 21st meeting. The council partially granted this appeal, adding further conditions to the approval related to noise monitoring. The resolution for this action was adopted at the June 4th town council meeting. Following that, the following week, on June 11th, the interim hearing was held to discuss events that had been held since March and the mitigation measures that had been taken and would be taken in response to the initial hearing and town council approval. Which leads us to tonight, where we will be meeting to discuss the 2025 event schedule and evaluate the compliance with the added conditions of approval. This is also an opportunity to amend the conditions further, removing, adding, or clarifying conditions that had been discussed previously. Since this hearing, the two most substantial updates are the noise monitoring that has occurred and the collaboration between Landmarks and the Neighborhood Collective. There was a condition imposed that there would be noise monitoring during events. So there was a consultant, which was Westside Acoustics, that was hired to complete this noise monitoring at 4 events and provide summaries to the town for review. Noise monitoring occurred at 3 events. They were 3 weddings varying in size, so a small, medium, and large attendance, as well as a baseline assessment on the property on a Saturday when there was no event occurring. In general, those reports did find that the amplified music was compliance with the sound limitations, but acknowledged that there were times where it did exceed that. During that, it was what was referred to as self-regulation, so it was somebody going up and telling the DJ to lower the volume. So as part of the overall review that is included in the staff report tonight, Westside did include some additional measures to be considered for future events, including the installation of physical barriers at the DJ booth or where the sound equipment is, and relocating sound equipment with it projecting towards the roadway to help direct noise. Additionally, since the initial hearing, representatives from both Landmarks and the Neighborhood Collective have met on several occasions. In advance of the hearing, the parties provided staff with a proposal to amend the conditions of the resolution for the CUP to further address several items that were discussed at the hearing. This proposal is included in tonight's packet as well. And before I go over those requested changes, I did just want to acknowledge and show my appreciation for Landmarks and the Neighborhood Collective. They have met several times and have spent a lot of time and effort. They've worked with staff, so I just wanted to thank them for all of their time in getting us to this review. So to begin, condition number 3, and just for a point of clarity, I'm referring to the conditions as they're referred to in the draft proposal. So depending on how the Planning Commission moves forward tonight, we did prepare a draft resolution. So the conditions that I'm highlighting reference that language and the proposals. Condition number 3 is regarding the maximum sound level. And the amendment is that it would limit sound equipment to 1 speaker in 2 locations. You can see here, the suggestion is to, if I can figure out how to use the pointer. This is not my first meeting. There we go. One suggestion was to limit the speakers, which would therefore reduce the noise. So the 2 locations are the patio area as well as the lawn. These are not exact locations. These are just points for reference. The second condition that was suggested was to remove the requirement for third-party monitoring that was imposed at the prior hearings and instead allow for monitoring to be conducted by Landmark staff. And at the end of each event year, there would be a review that is provided to the town and kept on file with the CUP. One of the items that did come up, and if I may, I don't feel like we had enough information to really discuss it, and it was the impacts to noise, size, and frequency events, and whether or not there should be an established limitation on all of those. The initial CUP did not address, it was just essentially an open-ended permit. So one of the suggestions that was provided is to limit the number of amplified events to no more than 16 events between March and November of each year, with 2 months having no more than 3 events each. And 2 of those 16 events would be limited to instrumental background music with no more than 60 guests. If this condition is adopted, or depending on how it's discussed, I would like to clarify that there was an unfortunate typo in the resolution under condition 5, which prohibited consecutive events. That was not intentional. That's not a request of the collective, the landmarks, or of staff. That was my error. And then conditions number 8 and 9 are regarding the shuttle services and valet parking. In the original CUP, there was a requirement that a shuttle service plan needed to be provided and approved by the town and kept on record. That unfortunately seems to, we requested an updated document since there was not one that we could find on record. So Landmarks did provide a shuttle service plan, which is included as an exhibit. And one of the other items that was requested was proposing a valet service. So for valet service, that would be limited to smaller events, so it would be a maximum capacity of 60 events. The valet would utilize the 18 spots in Landmarks parking. And there would be a final valet operations plan, which would discuss, overflow parking if it goes beyond those 18 spaces, which would be reviewed by the Director of Community Development prior to the commencement of the first event with valet services. Okay. Condition number 18 is recommended to be amended further, that we would hold a subsequent review of the conditional use permit within 1 year of the final decision of the Planning Commission at this meeting, or whenever the final decision, should this be continued, with the intention of, similar to the Chipper Days, not necessarily needing an annual review moving forward, but we would have one additional review in 1 year to see how the 2026 season went. The last condition was related to the hours of operation. The current CUP allows events for the hours of operation to go until 11 p.m. So this would reduce that to 10 p.m. with guests off-site no later than 9 and vendors off-site by 10 p.m. In addition to incorporating the neighborhood agreement, town staff also made the following changes to the conditions of approval. Essentially, we did reorganize the conditions for clarity. There were items that were referenced from the original CUP that we didn't feel like were relevant anymore. Conditions 1, 4, 5, and 16 all spoke to construction-related conditions. So we just wanted to essentially clean up that resolution and make it more clear moving forward. And we also removed condition number 21, requiring interim and annual events for moving forward, and tied that back to just having a 12-month review after this. So I know that's a lot to digest. We have prepared a draft resolution incorporating all of these modifications, which we can discuss further. We're hoping that after reviewing this information, taking public comment, that the commission will continue to allow amplified music during events with all of the conditions of approval deemed necessary. There are representatives from Landmarks here tonight, but staff is also available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for staff?
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep.
Commissioner.
Remind me, what is the hours of operation for the music down at Sam's, and is that 10 p.m. or 11 p.m.? I remember a few years back we had that here in the Planning Commission.
I don't have it in front of me. I'm happy to look that up and I can get back to you on that question, but I think it was substantially later. I want to say it was 11 or even.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's a different location, but I'm just curious. And then the second question is, in terms of the 16 events, how did that number come about? I mean, is it random? Is there a thought process?
I may let Landmarks expand upon that a little bit more. My understanding is that it was an average for that monthly period, that it would limit it to to 3 events per month, depending, just so
Okay.
that it wasn't every single weekend for each month
Mhm.
during their operating months.
Okay.
Any other commissioner questions for staff? Commissioner Williams?
Just one point of clarification on the inadvertent language that was
Yeah.
included with, I believe it was condition number 5.
Mhm.
What was the language? Do you mind just letting us know what phrase should be excluded?
Sure. So currently, that condition reads, the number of special events shall be limited to 16, running from the start of daylight saving time in March to the end of November of each year, with no more than 2 amplified events per month. And that's where the sentence should have stopped.
Right.
And then it should have gone on to say 14 of these events may include amplified music. The remaining 2 events shall be limited to no more than 60 guests. So that extra sentence where it says with 2 consecutive months having no more than 3 events each per should be removed
Okay.
entirely.
Thank you.
And I apologize for not catching that before we
Yeah,
published.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, commissioners? No? All right, well, then I welcome the applicant to come to the podium for a presentation. You have up to 20 minutes. If you'd like to use it all, you're welcome to. Now,
Mark
please state your
Freiberg.
name and
Yes.
who you represent.
I'm Mark Freiberg, and I'm with the Belvedere Tiburon Landmark Society. And I don't have a 20-minute presentation. I have no slides. I do have a few comments. I first want to express my sincere thanks to the commission, to town staff, and to our neighbors for sticking with us through the long process to reach this point tonight. The good news is that after many productive conversations, together we've landed on a path forward that both Landmarks and the Neighborhood Collective can support. Our shared goal is events at the Art and Garden Center shouldn't bother the neighbors. Over the past year of weddings and extensive noise monitoring, Landmarks has learned a lot about how to better keep sound in check. And we've proven we can stay in compliance with the perimeter decibel limits. In cases where sound levels briefly crept up, we were able to bring them right back down. Our effectiveness is at least partly due to new procedures we've established, such as talking with DJs just a few days before each event and reminding them of the penalties that would apply if sound limits were exceeded. So with regard to the mutually proposed revisions to our conditional use permit, there were several easy points of agreement. Landmarks agreed always to close up the facility by 10 p.m. Music ends earlier. The neighbors agreed that deliveries and pickups of equipment could be scheduled for any weekday when, for example, Monday or Friday were holidays. And we all agreed Landmarks would continue property-lined sound level monitoring at every special event going forward using docents trained on town-approved, and I should say with amplified music, special events, using docents trained on town-approved written procedures. Regarding speakers, even though sound system experts emphasize to us that multiple speakers are actually better for controlling perimeter sound, our neighbors asked us to please try just a single speaker on the patio as well as a single speaker down in the lawn area. Because this single speaker arrangement has not yet been tested, we're going to give it a try. And if it works, fantastic. If not, we may need to revisit this issue with you. On scheduling, we agreed to 14 amplified events per season, which was a request of the Neighborhood Collective. That is 2 events per month in our 7-month wedding season. Plus, at our request, 2 more small events during the season that have only background instrumental music that is gently amplified. In clarifying the wording in item 5, we understand staff inadvertently added the word consecutive for the months in which there would be 3 events, and we ask that it be removed. On parking, we agreed to have valet parking on Gilmartin Drive only for small events, that is, not exceeding 60 guests. with Landmarks making maximal use of its own parking lot and placing cones near our neighbors' driveways to ensure good road visibility. We understand that our written valet operations plan can include these details for review and approval by town staff. One last note. Because of the uncertainty around our permit, Landmarks hasn't booked any 2026 weddings yet, which has been tough financially. We're eager to move forward with these mutually agreed upon conditions so we can start planning again. We truly appreciate the conversations with our neighbors, and we look forward to keeping those lines of communication open. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have questions for Mr. Freiberg from the commissioners? One, I have one. The materials say you need to maintain, it was 8 or 9 parking spaces. What am I missing? How are we parking 18 cars?
Well, I think for one thing, we have 12 parking spaces.
Oh, so you have more than you're forced to maintain.
It's one of those areas where historically we exceeded expectations. And with valet parking, they can get more than 12 vehicles in there safely and still maintain the necessary fire safety access.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Anyone else? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
All right. I'm going to open for the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak, you will have 3 minutes and you can just come up to the podium, tell us your name and where you live, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. I'm Cam Shadan. I'm a member of the collective, Landmark Neighborhood Collective. I want to thank Landmarks and Commission and the staff for working with us. We have reached agreement, and that agreement was communicated to the town staff, and my letter that came kind of emphasized that. But there's a couple of items here that I would like to discuss. Our agreement is based on one speaker, and the reason is we found out based on the study that was conducted that the real issue is the power of the output power of sound. And then to really not to have to always chase these DJs is we need to limit the sound power. So one speaker in the lounge, one speaker in the disco, this dancing area was what we agreed to. And we also, in our communication, we actually agreed on a type of speaker or similar, which was a Bose L1 Pro or similar, which is up to 1200 watts of output. You know, one speaker could be a Bose S1 Pro, for example. It could have a 2000 watt speaker. So that condition that we agreed to test out is missing in the resolution, that we need to limit the power. The Landmarks consultant provided
You only speak in front of go ahead and hand us the document. And we need one for the staff, right? Yeah. Well, we can share up here. Yes, just pause for just a second. We'll give you a few extra seconds.
Yeah, I mean, we have.
Chris, do we need to copy it or are you okay with one? Oh, he's got some more.
Has it. Basically, in March, when the original application was made, Landmark's own consultant made mitigation recommendations, and one speaker was stated here, and I'm providing that just to refresh you on that. So it's not that we pull this out of our hats. The other thing is, so we would like to see that one speaker have some limits on it. The other thing is the limit of disturbance generally, and we agreed to 14 amplified events and 2 instrumental events because, and Commissioner Amir was saying why 14. The reason is we said we need some breaks, right? There are 8 months or generally it's 8 months. So the 16 would be total if you have 2 events per month, right? So we need some weekends where we can actually have our own plans in the neighborhood and not worry about disturbing Landmarks weddings or ceremonies. So that's how the number was arrived. The maximum number is really 16. And 14, we agreed that can be amplified. And 2, and Landmark said, well, some months are hot months, like October and September. They need to have 3 weddings, perhaps. There's a lot of demand for those months. So we agreed to a third to be instrumental music. That third one is the one that's instrumental. So by no means we agreed to have 3 consecutive weekends with this disco music. Okay, so I would just want to clarify that. So that's condition number 3 and condition number 5. And then the last thing that I want to say is that we agreed that we meet 2 times before we come before you, if we ever come before you. We are hoping that we work very well together and we should be able to resolve this and everything will be fine. But we agreed that we are going to meet in June and September together and then come to you if we need to refine anything next November. And there are 3 plans that need to be submitted. One is a shuttle plan, valet and shuttle plan. The other one is the sound monitoring plan. Actually, that's 3. Valet plan, shuttle plan, and sound monitoring plan. So we would like to see those submitted early enough that can be reviewed before the first event. So sometimes in January, February would be good for Landmarks to submit those 3 plans for review. And we would like to be part of that review. So again, I want to thank you all and thank you, Landmarks. And I think we have a solution forward if we just refine those two areas I mentioned. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do you
we have a
mind
question.
staying?
You don't mind?
I wanted,
Sure.
you touched on 2 areas that I had questions about, just in terms of how to craft the resolution.
Sure.
So on as to the number of speakers, that's number 3, condition number 3
Sure.
of the
Mhm.
Exhibit B. You are just wanting a reference to the type of speaker, the Bose L1 Pro, that is, it's that speaker and not some other speaker, or is it?
Or
the
similar.
time of- Or
Similar. Yeah, Mark and I have talked
Yeah.
about this quite extensively.
Yeah.
We did a lot of research together.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go L1. That seems to be a kind of speaker that gives enough sound level, about 1200 watts, that you, especially if you have one right there at the 1,000 square feet area of dancing area and one in the lawn, everybody will hear.
Yeah.
And we felt that's a good one to start with.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking, and during the rebuttal period, I will ask Mark
Sure.
the same question to see that if we can come up with language that reflects what you have talked about. It's really just for clarity in the resolution itself.
Yeah, let me just say one more thing. And, we don't want to enforce a certain brand or anything.
Yeah.
It's just that we felt that was a 1200 watts.
Yeah,
And so the wattage is the key
That's the
issue.
key.
And the only thing we could
Yeah.
find something that we could
Yeah,
sink
yeah,
our teeth
yeah.
into was that.
so that's the better reference, and maybe there can be some sort of parenthetical, this brand or similar, something
Yeah,
along those
exactly,
lines. Yeah.
exactly.
So we can kind of maybe wordsmith that together. There was an ambiguity to me in that sentence. Only, this is just my legal brain kind of
Sure.
looking at parsing and picking apart language. Would it be more clear to say with no more than 1 speaker at the brick patio and 1 speaker at the lawn area? Kind of just really spell it out.
Yep.
It's a very minor, but it spells it out a little bit, so it takes a little bit of the ambiguity out of that sentence.
Yeah, that makes sense because we want to have sound level for all the guests.
Yes,
And
yeah.
one at the lawn area will cover that area and one at the dancing area would cover that. And these speakers come with a wide range angle.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
180-degree angle.
yeah.
So it's not,
Yeah.
you don't need 2.
It's the clear intent of this language, but it was a little bit ambiguous. So I just wanted to see if that alternative language. And then on the 2 more questions on the meeting 2 times in June and September, because I did see that in the correspondence. Were you saying that you wanted that added in as a condition, or just that there's an understanding that will happen?
We have worked very well together.
Yeah,
I
I can see
don't,
that.
I think we're neighbors and I don't I just mentioned that we are going to do that.
Yeah.
So when we come to,
Yeah.
if we come to you next year, then we have already
Yeah.
met and
Yeah,
conferred.
yeah, absolutely. Which, and you're so good at, I mean, it's been so productive and you're better than we are at coming up with a good
met
solution.
without needing any mediation and
Yeah.
mediators, so
Yeah.
we're in talking terms.
Yeah, yeah, it's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And then the last question on the three, the shuttle plan, the valet plan and the monitoring plan. You had said you'd like to see that in advance of, or in early January for is there something, were you asking for something to be written in for more clarity as to the timing? There is, for example, I think the valet plan does say within 30 days of the first event that uses shuttles. Were you asking for anything specific? to be
30
written
days
in?
is not a lot of time, so there are comments. I mean, Landmarks, I'm just thinking Landmarks needs to plan and contract these people. So if these plans are approved early on, they're required by the conditions that are approved early on and reviewed, I think that gives them a ability to
Oh.
contract with the valet people and all that.
And I may have been misreading. I should take a closer look because I want to make sure I was reading the provision correctly about the 30 days. That might be if there's overflow parking beyond, if there's an anticipation of overflow. So strike that, what I said, the 30
yeah.
days.
Yeah.
But I am curious as to the sort of that if there's anything more that needs to be that you would agree on putting in or that we should consider in terms of the timing of the plans. And we'll take a closer look at the language
Sure,
together as we talk. I'm just wanting to get your, the feedback from the both of you.
The other one is just sound monitoring, because they're self-sound monitoring now. It would be good to train the docents by the consultant and then have a procedure to follow and that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for entertaining
very
those
welcome.
questions.
Thank you. Anything else?
Any other commissioners with a question? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else in the audience who would like to make a public comment? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Kim Weichel. My husband and I live adjacent to the Landmarks property. So I just wanted to, and a part of the neighborhood collective, I wanted to add something that hasn't been yet said. It's very important, is that the maximum is 60 decibels. I just really want to make that clear. For some reason it hasn't been said. I wanted to add to what Cam has been saying that, and we've discussed this with Landmarks, that's why we suggested certain size speakers, certain placement of speakers, as well as the speaking with the DJs ahead of time and the training of the docents, but we just really want to emphasize 60 decibels is the maximum.
Okay, thank you very much. For your peace of mind, that is in the conditions of approval. All right, anyone else in the audience like to speak? Okay.
My name is Paige Petrini. I live in Tiburon. And I also am the person that does all the rentals for the Landmark Society's events. Right now, I have 211 people on a waiting list because I have not been able to book. I've got 42 for 2027, and I've got 1 for 2028. So I haven't been able to book because we don't know what parameters were going to be set, and Patty and I felt it would be kind of dishonest to not let people know. So I just want to know, it's very important that if we make these decisions, we stick with them. I have broken-hearted brides and grooms. I've had grandfathers screaming at me on the phone that, I've had people that have yelled and screamed and have gone to other venues out of Tiburon. Just so you know, the after parties in Tiburon at Sam's, Bungalow, all these other places are because we close at 9 o'clock. So we're offering business all over the place. So I appreciate your doing this, and I'm sorry, but it's a very emotional issue for me because these are big days for these people and they're trying to plan ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that, the feedback on the process. It sounds like, I can imagine people planning weddings get very stressed out, so thank you. Thank you. Or anyone else in the audience like to speak on this issue? I'm seeing none. Chris, do we have anyone online?
We have no public comments.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comment period. And does the applicant have anything they'd like to say in response to what you've heard in the last 20 minutes or so? And you have 5 minutes.
I think everything that was said, I agree with. It was all true. I'd like to provide a little bit more perspective on the single speaker. And Patty may be up in a minute, if I may, just to correct anything I'm overseeing. But it is true that we agreed on the Bose L1 Pro 8 speaker. We're looking forward to trying it. We plan, I'm not promising, but we plan to purchase it so that we're not reliant on the DJs bringing exactly the right speaker, particularly if they don't own one themselves, because it's a small speaker compared to what they typically bring. And the single speaker that was brought for the date that Cam mentioned was not a Bose L1 Pro 8. And so that's what I mean by this exact arrangement has not been tested. We're certainly hoping it works. We believe it will. I mean, for one thing, it's cheaper for us to buy one speaker than to buy two. So we hope the one speaker does work. But that was just some details. And working with town staff, they said, you know, we really don't want to list a particular brand name, even though we'd had language about or similar in our draft that didn't come forward. And I think that's part of the reason why. The point that Paige makes is really important, that if there are future material changes to the CUP, significant changes, looking at what would be the implementation date will be really important. This is for the future. That's why we want to get it right now, because these things are booked years, sometimes in advance, and breach of contract could have severe consequences for us and potentially for the town, depending on how that unfolds. So, Patty, is there anything else you wanted to flesh out? Okay.
I had a question.
Yes.
Sorry. So 2 questions. The first one is you had thank you for all of the points that have been made. You haven't tried these speakers, so you indicated you may be coming back to change.
If it doesn't work for the,
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
the sound experts we talked to said, look,
Yeah.
if you really want to limit the noise at the perimeter,
Right.
have multiple speakers and have them close to your audience so you can keep them turned way down. And at the perimeter, you actually hear less noise. It's counterintuitive is what the sound experts told us. They use that phrase. It's counterintuitive. And so that may be, you know, partly why there's pressure to just go with one speaker. So whatever, we'll try it and we hope it works. And I think we've each talked to sound experts, sound system experts, and the Bose speaker seems to be the best fit for our constrained location.
Yeah.
We'll try it.
And in your opinion, is there an advantage or disadvantage to referencing the 1200 watts within
Yes.
the language?
We have really not focused on that. The request from the Neighborhood Collective was around a single speaker. At one point, it became a single speaker of 8-inch diameter maximum. And at another point, it became an 8-inch diameter speaker of no more than 100 watts. And I went so far as to try and find such a beast. And the sound people chuckled and they said, so you want something you'd mount on the back of your bike, basically? And they said, you know, the Bose one, they told me was a 300 watt speaker. They said, tell your folks that's as close as you can hopefully get. 100 watts does not work, but we haven't focused on wattage. And for that to come up now, I feel totally unprepared, other than that one quote I can give you from one sound system person. I don't feel like we're prepared to address that.
So you've agreed, you've come to the agreement of trying the one speaker.
Yes.
And this sort of 12-month review, seeing how ideally there's a situation that works.
Yeah.
And that you can have weddings and you can make plans for the next year. We all know that there's a 12-month review. So at that time, you may have purchased the L1 Pro, you might have, there may be some additional conditions that could be written into it that provides the specificity that is agreed upon. I mean, that would be the ideal scenario, right? As you have a year of testing this out, that you may come back earlier to have to tweak this a bit. But is that kind of the how you envision this?
Yeah, first off, we probably plan on renting one of these speakers before we just buy it.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
But we would provide it, not the DJ.
yeah.
I'll also pass along some wisdom that the town staff shared with us. And now it's blown right out of my head what that wisdom, it was so awe-inspiring. And that, what were we just talking about? No. It was, oh gosh, this is so embarrassing. I have definitely reached peak intelligence in my life. It'll come to me as soon as I step away from the table.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you want to touch on?
And this is really just it's really just to better understand how we can craft something that's workable. I'm not trying to be provocative. I'm just trying to understand, what.
He got it.
Scott.
Hell.
Yeah, great. See, that's what happens. Just
Town staff said,
it'll come to you.
we as the town have to worry about what can be enforced, and that doesn't prevent you from having agreements other than the CUP between you and the neighborhood collective. And that's, I think, how we plan to implement and evolve a lot of these underlying things
That would be,
That
I
support-
suspect we would share that.
that support
Yeah,
compliance.
yeah. This should be a useful document. And the. Yeah.
Nothing to say, Patty? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, applicant, for that rebuttal, quote unquote. With that, I would like to move to the commissioner comments and discussion. All right, who would like to start? Commissioner Woodward looks prepared.
I'm happy to start. But just thanks to everyone, community and landmarks, for coming together. This, as we saw at the beginning, we've had many meetings, many discussions. Whatever we've had, you guys have had clearly multiples of, so appreciative of all the work in the community to get there. I will do my best to channel Commissioner Sy, since he's not here, and just offer up that the more prescriptive that these things become, the easier it is to trip over them and then not align with them, and then have people upset about, the fact that you didn't do it this exact way, and yet maybe the actual outcome of it is perfectly fine. And, so said another way, you could potentially easily exceed, the maximum wattage, but if it's all pointed at the ground, you would never hear it. And so, I think we just really need to think about, we spent a lot of time talking about decibels at one or two or three of these meetings. And it sounds like there's, I don't want to say violent agreement. There's a vehement agreement that 60 decibels is an acceptable manner. So a number, how we get there and what the manner is to get there, I think we should really leave it up to the collective and landmarks working together and seeing. And if it's the Bose L1 S362 Pro, and that works, or whatever it is, or if it's a different brand, or if it's 3 smaller bicycle, speakers, whatever it is, that ultimately the goal is to obviously keep it within 60 decibels, and the mitigating factor of monitoring on an ongoing basis. And I don't know, how the monitoring reports are getting shared, or what the prescription is for that. But, again, I think the transparency and the communication and the fact that you guys have built a dialogue is what speaks to me here. And so while there are lots of nuances that I think we can go through, I just would sort of urge in our discussion that we think about the high level alignment. Everyone's talking, seems like everyone's being good neighbors. There is the ability to obviously come back here. We understand the desire to have this locked in stone. My opinion will be, once this gets written, and if it's followed and everyone is happy, that you're going to have a very long duration of this. But of course, we won't know for 12 months, right, until we get back here and have this discussion again. But certainly, at least for the next 12 months, you'll have this. And if it's positive, just like with the chipper days, it'll become nearly permanent. So So anyway, but that was the main thing, is I just wanted to make sure as we have these discussions that we're just thinking higher level as opposed to actually writing in code a specific brand name and model number in even wattage of it. So.
Then it'll get discontinued, right?
Yeah.
Like, it'll be
Exactly,
discontinued next
exactly.
week and you'll have to find a new model
Exactly.
number.
But I
That's a,
since every conversation is about AI these days, I figure, like there's also going to be some sort of
exactly.
speaker that's going to just
Yeah.
tune into the exact person and,
Yeah.
we'll miss it out. So,
No, I think that's a really, really important point. Thank you so much for offering that perspective. And really, my goal with the dialogue was to understand what the parties had discussed and was there something that that wasn't reflected in the draft that was presented to us. But I think what has been presented is the result of a lot of really hard work by everyone, the collective, the neighbors, Landmark staff. It's really inspiring, actually. I was kind of getting choked up, I have to confess, when this started, because to see this kind of collaborative, productive dialogue and it is difficult and emotional, but you were able to come up with such an incredible result it's very hard. It's very inspiring, and it makes me really proud to be a part of the community, to be alongside you all. But I do think that Commissioner Woodward's point is really well taken, that not getting too prescriptive, not writing things. I wanted to make sure that we were writing in things that there had been agreement about, but I did understand from the back and forth that you're not quite there yet, but may very well get there. So I think that what you've brought to us is a really well-crafted set of conditions. There were some typographical errors that I did notice, minor. And there is one, just that one point about noting that it's one speaker at the, at the brick patio and one speaker at the lawn. I think just really spelling that out would be helpful. It's a little less ambiguous. And I don't know if I should go over a couple typographical things now or save that
Go
for
for it.
later.
Yeah.
On condition 4, I also noticed at the very end of that provision where it says, so Landmarks is required to make and keep the records and provide the town, a summary containing information on the noise monitoring of the events. Oh, I'm sorry, this was just a question. And the number, size, and frequency of events of the noise monitoring. I didn't really understand that. I think that may just be extra language. I think it's the summary is the information on the noise monitoring and then the number and size and frequency of the events themselves, and the scratched of the noise monitoring, which maybe just was repeated. Yeah, exactly. Just to make sure it's, yeah, so that there's no confusion later. And then the language that you have pointed out in number 5, which is eliminating that provision, that phrase that starts with 2 consecutive months and ends with then 3 events each, ... pair. And there was on condition 9, again, I think there's just duplicative language. It's at the end of 9, the very end where it talks about, let's see, the beginning is, Landmark shall submit a VOP, which must include, and the one legally described and permitted address, I'm sorry, which must include one, maybe get rid of the thes used twice. 1, the legally described and permitted addresses of all designated offsite parking locations. 2, written permission or agreement from the owner of the offsite locations. And 3, a plan showing the maximum number of vehicles. It currently says the number of maximum number. And then the last one is on, looks like it's 17. Is that 17? It's the review provision. I think you meant the amendment as opposed to the amended.
18.
Oh, is that 18? 18. No. I'm looking at the redlined version, so it's a little bit.
Wait, so what it should be,
It currently says, let me just make sure I'm going to the clean copy. Instead of the amended, I think it should say the amendment to this conditional use permit. So those are just kind of cleaning it up, making sure that that's
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We're getting prepared to make a decision. Commissioner Amir.
Yeah, I also agree that providing other, I would say, other audio requirements beyond the decibel is just puts it out of the realm of experts in a way. We've had multiple multiple different things in the town over the years, and it's always been around an audio consultant or lighting consultant, and the decision was always around decibels, and it's written well here, and I think we should stick with it. Moving towards a different definition of watts or a specific speaker, I think takes it out of the realm of expertise, outside the fact that, being too specific just requires a potential legal issue down the road, if suddenly we need to change speakers or something like that. So I totally agree with my fellow commissioners. I am sensitive to what the applicant said about booking things in advance. It is frustrating that suddenly, hypothetically in a year from now, you come to a review and suddenly, for whatever reason, the CUP changes, and then you've already booked a wedding, which people book 18 months in advance, 22, 24 months in advance, and suddenly you need to go back for whatever reason. That is an issue. However, given that this is the first time we're dealing with the CUP, taking away that annual review in the first year, I think is not fair to the neighborhoods. So I think that needs to stick. However, I would support that potentially next year, if we come back and there's no problems, that, you don't need to come every year. Maybe we change it 18 months or every 2 years or something like that. Because of that reason. And finally, look, it's great to see, the applicant and the neighborhood working together. This is not easy. There's other issues around town that have been well talked about in the past that you can't get agreement sometimes with the neighborhood and the applicant, and that makes our decision more difficult. That's why we're here. But in this case, it's actually great to see a pretty good result, actually, I think, for both sides, that really, really makes this situation work, makes probably our life a bit easier as well. So I really commend kind of both sides here and working together to make this happen. With the changes that Commissioner Williams proposed, I would support those changes as well.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Amir. I love speaking last with such a nice commission because they don't leave much for me to say because they all are so well reasoned and intelligent. I agree with everything everyone said. I do also agree the 1-year review, I think, is a good idea. We want to both provide certainty for the applicant so that they can book these weddings, but also the neighbors need to know that we're listening and that we're willing to be back here and look at everything fresh in a year. I did have one thing in the conditions of approval that I think could be clarified a little bit more. In the third section for amplification, right near the end, it says landmarks shall be limited to no more than one speaker at both the brick patio and the lawn area. I think we should clarify that because that could be read 2 different ways. Is it one speaker for both, or is it one speaker at
that's the
each?
language that I read in.
Oh,
One speaker so we
I
just
just-
really specify
Okay.
one speaker at the brick patio and one speaker at the.
okay,
lawn.
great. I thought you were saying something else.
Yeah.
Okay, see, clearly it needs
was
clarification
talking
because I'm still
fast.
confused. Thank you,
But
Commissioner.
I noticed that ambiguity too.
That's not what I thought you meant. Thank you so much. Great. We are already clarifying that. Yeah, and I also want to commend everyone who worked hard together. We have a lot of meetings where, people were a little upset, rightfully so. And as my co-commissioners have pointed out, we as a commission get a lot of issues about sound. And sound engineers, I respect their work, but a lot of it is subjective. They're trying to make something that's very subjective, objective, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So that's when we all need to step in and be as reasonable as we can and talk to each other. So I really appreciate everyone working together. As commissioners, you made our job easier because, as Commissioner Amir said, sometimes there is no resolution other than to have us decide for you. And it's much better if you can work together and make your own resolution, because it's always going to be better than what we come up with, I think, if it's crafted by yourselves. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for continuing to work really hard. Okay.
Chair DeFever, I think
Yes.
there's one more finding that we're asked to make, which is just that the project, that this is exempt from the requirements of CEQA,
Yes.
and that there are no exceptions that would apply. And that's pursuant to section 15301 of the CEQA guidelines.
If you'd like to make that part of the motion.
Motion, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think we're ready.
Yeah.
I don't see anyone
Yeah,
objecting.
yeah.
Before,
May, sorry, go ahead, yeah.
Oh, yes.
and before you make a final motion, we should have sequence in the resolution.
Yeah.
After some discussion internally with staff and council, we do suggest just adding one language onto some language onto condition 9, which would be regarding the valet service and the valet operations plan, where there's the third item and 3, a plan showing maximum number of vehicles at each location. We'd like to add a 4, which would make it, instead of and 3, it would be comma 3, and then it would be and 4, any information related to health and safety as required by the community development director, building official, and town engineer. Essentially, we want to be able to review this valet service plan for functionality and safety relative to standards, particularly for the engineering in terms of traffic movement.
Okay. Any commissioners have a comment on that?
No objection to that. Would
That
it be
seems-
possible, just as part of the motion, would it be possible for staff to read back the changes that we have? Just kind of read them out and then we can get that into the record in a clear way, and then I can just reference that as part of the motion.
I'll give it a shot. So it would be amending the conditions of approval of Exhibit B so that condition number 3 specifies that landmarks shall be limited to no more than 1 speaker at the brick patio and 1 speaker at the lawn area. And that condition number 4, the last sentence says number, size, and frequency of events in compliance with condition number 5 below, essentially eliminating of the noise monitoring. That condition number 5 be modified to say 2 amplified events per month with no more than 3 events each. And then the next sentence beginning 14 of the events may include amplified music. The remaining 2 events shall be limited to no more than 60 guests with instrumental background music. Condition number 9 shall include a 4th item at the end, which will refer to providing any information related to health and safety requirements as required by the community development director, town building official, and town engineer.
And just that one minor correction to subsection 3 as well.
I think I included that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Subsection 3.
Sorry,
One speaker at,
No, I'm sorry. This is condition 9. So
Yes, and
you
that-
added 4 and the 3 should just eliminate the number of, yeah.
That's that one. And
Sorry.
yeah, so and item 3 saying, and a plan showing the maximum number of vehicles, eliminating the number of maximum number. And
And right before one, in that same section, we have the double the one, the,
Double the.
just to clean it up.
okay, include the, yeah, eliminating the second the. And finally, condition number 18, instead of saying under review, instead of saying the amended to this conditional use permit, it shall read the amendments to this conditional use permit. And that's what I have.
Okay.
Terrific. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah. So I think I'll move, based on a finding that the project is exempt from the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15301 of the CEQA guidelines, that the commission adopt the draft resolution granting amendment to the original use permit to allow amplified music to be played at during events at the Landmark Art and Garden Center, subject to the changes that were just read into the record.
I'll second.
All right, Chris, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Woodward. Commissioner DeFever,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Amir.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone who's here for the Landmarks Art and Garden Center issue. And we are going to move on to public hearing number 3, which is Point Tiburon Plaza near the at 1775 Tiburon Boulevard. We're discussing a location next to the existing flower shop gazebo and the application for a conditional use permit for a new coffee trailer to be used at the plaza. And that product is, that is exempt from CEQA. Okay, so do we have a staff report on public hearing number 3?
Yes, just one moment. Let me get set up here. Okay, great. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. I intend to keep this presentation brief. For the full analysis of the project, please see the staff report. However, as a general introduction to this item, the purpose of tonight's hearing is to consider a conditional use permit to operate a coffee trailer called Paradise Coffee within the Point Tiburon Plaza between the bus stop on Tiburon Boulevard and the existing flower shop gazebo at 1775 Tiburon Boulevard. This application is proposed on a property zoned neighborhood commercial, but is also governed by the Point Tiburon Precise Plan. Per town code, new uses in the Point Tiburon commercial area may be authorized through a conditional use permit, provided they are consistent with the governing Precise Plan. The neighborhood commercial zone is intended to support residential serving commercial and office uses with accompanying residential and mixed-use development. Per town code, permitted uses in this zone include retail, personal services, bakeries, business, household services, offices, and residential. In addition, the Point Tiburon Precise Plan authorizes retail, office, or other neighborhood-serving commercial uses within the plaza. With the absence of any specific reference to mobile vendors and trailers on private property within the code or within the Point Tiburon Precise Plan, the town is processing this use in a similar manner to the conditional use permit approved in 1997 for the retail flower operation site located next to the proposed coffee trailer use. The 18 by 10-foot coffee trailer is located between the bus stop on Tiburon Boulevard and the existing flower shop gazebo. The proposed trailer is configured in a way that would continue to allow a path of travel for pedestrians. The trailer would operate from 6 to 4 p.m. Monday through Sunday, with a maximum of 3 workers operating the trailer at any given time. Pre-made pastries and sandwiches are to be made available, along with standard espresso and coffee beverages, and the trailer has already received the 2025 through 2026 Marin Health Permit. The applicant has outlined that the goal of this application is to provide an affordable, quick option for people looking for something different than a traditional dine-in experience. Within the staff report, staff outlined different goals and policies within the general plan that could be used in the review of this application. The staff report also outlines the purposes and findings required to grant a conditional use permit. Staff recommends the Planning Commission weigh whether the required findings for the conditional use permit can be made to support this type of use at this particular location. Representatives from the applicant team have prepared a presentation, but staff are also available to answer any questions.
Okay, do commissioners have any questions for the staff? I'm seeing none. No? Yeah, and I want to commend the staff for a very detailed report. I really enjoyed it, being an attorney and loving detail. So thank you for that. Okay, then I will move to the applicant presentation.
Hi, everybody. My name is Samuel Cook. And
Oh, I'm sorry, you have 20 minutes. I was supposed to tell you that.
oh, okay. All right, let's do this. So my name is Samuel Cook. My business partner is Juan Carlos Camon. He's in the back. We are here to present Paradise Coffee at 1775 Tiburon Boulevard in Tiburon, located downtown next to the Flower Gazebo. All right, so who are we? So Juan Carlos has worked in Tiburon for the past 20 years in various restaurants. Luna Blue and Tiburon Tavern are the first two that come to mind. I personally have lived in Tiburon. I've gone through school through here, went to Redwood as well. And my family actually owns the Point Tiburon Plaza since 1992. All right. So proposed, we would like to put a 18 by 12 coffee trailer right next to the coffee shop. Not right next to the flower shop, with the daily operations of 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Sunday. There's no on-site dining, so there's no benches or outdoor seating. It's just grab and go, takeout only. We plan on only having 1 to 2 people working on the trailer itself. Staff bathrooms are located in the Point Tiburon Plaza, about 200 feet away. If you've ever been there, it's right next to Digital Foundry and Partners of Growth. So it's just a quick 2-second walk. And then deliveries. So a lot of the public comments that I've heard is that we would be blocking the red zone for the bus stops to do the necessary filling and unfilling of the coffee trailer. However, we would be doing that before operation at 5 in the morning, 5:30, get everything on, service, and then get everything off at 4:30. So there would not be any cars located in that red zone. That's that bus stop, or parked in the 20-minute zone next to the bus stop as well. We would actually, all staff parking would be at the plaza itself in the back. And then another thing would be, the smell of coffee and the sound of coffee beans being grounded once in a while to make drinks. That would be the only noise or odor you would, so to speak. All right, so these are some of the pictures that of the trailer itself. As you can see, let me grab this. Oops. As you can see that there's a 6-foot hitch right here that's not covered or painted. We originally are planning on putting a little shed that's kind of like a storage shed to hide it, and also for the public safety so people don't trip on it and cause a hazard. We painted it green and brown to keep it with the Point Tiburon Plaza theme. It was yellow at first, and this blends into what the plaza colors are right now. So this is the front of the trailer. These 2 windows open up. This is the serving window. We were going to build a 3-foot rail right here, a little shelf for handicap accessibility. And then these wheels are actually going to be hidden with plants and or a shrub or something just to hide it, so it kind of blends in even more with the gazebo and the whole Point Tiburon Plaza as well. So this is a side view. So this would be the view that you get of the if you're standing right on top of the lawn. Yes, it does block the view of the ocean and the bay. However, if you step 2 feet down, you can see it as well. A very, very clear view. All right, so this is the site map. As Savannah was talking about, this is the bus stop. This is where the trailer is. This is the gazebo. This is the lawn that it's sitting on right now. This black line right here, after a very extensive research of where the property line is, that's actually the property line. So the trailer is on private property. Up here is the bathroom. And then, yeah. And then this is the overview. You guys have already seen that. Perfect. Cool. So over the last couple months, I've gotten public comments of how, the negatives and the positives. So the positives are like the hours of operation, 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. I just realized that the first commuter ferry to the city is at 7 a.m. So, and Acree's not open until 8. So a lot of people were very, very happy that we would be open for that grab and go coffee, right before the ferry. And yeah, and it lightens the plaza. When I say that, I mean that it's very convenient for the tenants and the employees of all the offices, and it brings another option. So they don't have to cross the street. They can just grab and go their pastries, their paninis, their quick coffees, and also it just so they can get back right to work. That was one thing that a lot of the tenants were talking about, was just that they would have to cross the street, wait in line, and waste a little more time than they would like to. As far as neighborhood and nearby residential uses, the noise, like I mentioned before, is just the coffee grounds being ground in. The panini presser doesn't make any noise, and there won't be any music blasted like most coffee trailers and food trucks have. To invite people, we actually will be silent. And then so downtown, the sidewalk is 20 feet, and there's plenty of room for anybody just to pass. If someone's in line or waiting for their baked goods or sandwiches or coffee is out as well. Trash in neighborhood, we were planning on there was already 2 trash cans on both sides of the bus shelter. We'd like to put a compost and a recycling bin on both sides, and that will be taken care of every single day to the designated trash locations at the plaza. And then as far as it impacts Acree, which is a big thing, I guess, about this, is that Acree has outdoor seating, and as we don't, and it's more grab and go, and they also have a bigger menu than we plan on having. And they've also been established for years. We've never started this. We've never started Paradise Coffee. We've never opened or anything. So they have a leg up on us. And I feel like, we would like a piece of the pie, so to speak. So does everybody in the world. So like I mentioned, also there's not going to be any alcohol sold. So, we don't have to go through any of that. Does not inhibit foot traffic. Like I mentioned, there's a huge sidewalk. As far as car traffic, so a lot of the public has been saying, oh, it's going to be blocking the 5 20-minute zones and the red zone. As I look at it, everybody parks in the 20-minute zone as far as the public. that's not specifically ours. So if anybody parks in those 20-minute zones, it's not because they're customers of Paradise Coffee. Maybe they're just exploring Tiburon and they forgot that they left their car there for 20 minutes or whatever. So for us, our main attraction is like bike riders and pedestrians that are walking, and obviously the tenants of the plaza. And then the site will always be watched out for as far as cleanliness before, during, and after operations. So we'll make sure that there's no trash, there's no litter, anything that will be negative towards the Tiburon itself. And then as the commissary kitchen goes, so as of right now, we have it in San Rafael, but we would like to move it to the dim sum spot that's going to be opening hopefully in February. That's at the Point Tiburon Plaza. That's going to be called Today's Food. That way it's an easier commute. We can just walk our stuff to the our things to the food trailer rather than having to quote unquote park the car and take a spot or anything like that. So it'd be a 2-second walk, and no parking spots are going to be taken. We've already touched that. Handicap accessible. So with the rail, there's also going to be a little speaker box or a little button that we'll have. And it doesn't necessarily single them out. It'll just be easier for us to talk to them rather than reaching over the window and making them feel unaccepted. And as far as like us delivering food to them or beverages and whatnot, we'll put it on the counter before and not hand it to them. That way there's no hazard of hot coffee getting spilt on them or any hot beverages in general. So why do we need this? That's the biggest question. Why do we need another coffee shop here? Why? Well, for one thing is that it's a grab and go. So when you go to Acri, you wait in line and essentially it's a grab and go. However, for us not to have any seats, no outdoor seating, no benches besides the bus shelter, you're just literally grabbing and going. Bikers love this idea. I've talked to multiple bikers that were even sitting at Acri about this. They say that they love the environment there, but they'd rather just grab their coffee, go on a little ride, and do whatever they were going to do. Go home, go wherever they need to go. This is also easily accessible to the public as far as people getting to walk to it. People can see it on the road and whatnot. And then, yeah, it just brings another option to Tiburon. So Tiburon, as we know it, is a little, it's on the vintage side. And we like to bring it a little towards the modern day where, people are always on the move and people love to get their things as fast as they can. People are very impatient, I would like to say. So this is one thing that would really help commuters, especially bikers, any pedestrian that's going on their walks and whatnot. So they don't have to go inside a building and then go out and smell like coffee. You're actually just outside smelling the fresh air and whatnot. Yeah, this is all as far as the presentation is this a time where I can talk about possibly the letters we received?
It's your time, so you're
Oh,
welcome.
okay, let's do it. So as for the negatives, there was 3 or 4 letters that were emails that were received to the planning department about not having the coffee trailer there. And most of them hone in on the location of the trailer and how it demeans the plaza. Unfortunately, and for them, it does not demean the plaza, and it doesn't take away from any view of any of the tenants that are there, and it doesn't take away of the view of the plaza itself. If you've driven by and seen Paradise Coffee, you can see all the buildings, and you can see all the lawn, you can see the stage, you can see everything there perfectly fine. So it's also hidden under trees. And another thing is that I tried to turn in the flower gazebo about a year and a half ago to a coffee spot. As far as yeah, I tried to do that. Unfortunately, I ran into some errors with sewage. When it was planned, when the plaza was constructed 30, 40 years ago, we weren't connected to the main sewage downtown at Main Street. So in order for the gazebo to be connected, it would have cost about $120,000. Unfortunately, I wasn't willing to do that. So this was kind of our next best option. And I've already, with the gazebo itself, I actually spent about $6,000 on just an architect that can tell us whether we could do it or not. And I've worked with the planning department, and I've worked with building department about this extensively. And unfortunately, that was how that went. And then one of the letters by Hank McWhiney said that it would be inconsistent with the architecture and the location. Like I said, all of these letters are about the location and how it's going to demean the plaza itself. Unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't, as far as like me being part owner. And behind me is my mother, who's very, very picky about how the plaza looks in general. And she actually gave the approval of this. I wouldn't have done this on my own. I wouldn't have done anything like that. I think that as far as it being at the plaza and being a competition for Acri, I think that, like I mentioned, I think that everybody, wants a piece of the pie. Everybody should be able to make money however they need to make money. And yeah, I mean, for years I had a food truck, and I was parked at the parking lot for a little while. And no one said anything about that. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for everybody for listening out. And yeah.
Okay, if you could pause for a minute, and the commissioners may have questions for you.
Let's do it.
He's ready.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
Jeremy.
have a question, but it's maybe to staff as well. The applicant said that he's thinking putting a shed over, I guess, whatever that is in the trailer thing. Does that is that a separate approval, or is that part of what's being discussed here as well? Just to understand that aspect.
Yeah, thank you for that question. We've not received any details on the shed. We were not made aware of the shed.
Okay.
So that would probably require design review.
Okay. All right. So that's not part of the discussion here
Is-
tonight. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's all.
Sorry, just a follow-up. Why would that require design review if this does not require design review?
Depending on the height of that structure that's proposed, it would probably be considered a structure per town code definition.
So if they made the shed, I mean, it sounded to me, and please feel free to jump in, Mr. Cook. You're looking to build something effectively to cover up the hitch and the eyesore or whatever, if you will, and you're going to try and get some productivity out of it. But it wasn't specifically that you were going to try and attach a house or something else on top of it.
No, sir. It's just, it'd be a 4x4. I call it a shed, but it looks like a box. It'll be painted brown or green, just if the fluidity as the trailer and as the plaza as well.
Okay. So maybe,
Yes.
maybe, right, just depending upon the size, back to your point of, and it sounds like the applicant's already been working with your office and.
And if I can clarify, I mean, we haven't, as Savannah has indicated, we haven't received a detail on that. I think there was sort of a note indicating it may be just a very low box sort of cover. As the applicant has said, there are some details to the, whether it's the counter or some landscaping that covers the wheels. There are details that kind of weren't part of the plan, but because the trailer has been already installed, we went ahead and kind of moved forward with this use review in order to kind of get a good temperature reading on the use in general. If there is need to get more information in order to create a, bit more comfort or anything like that, we certainly could work with the applicant on doing that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's where my, as the least non-lawyer here, the most non-lawyer, I guess, are we only having this discussion here because it has wheels on it? And, so said if it didn't have wheels and they just dropped a structure, we'd be in front of design review having this dialogue? Because that seems to be what have happened decades ago with the flower shop.
Right. Well, and I think if it was, and again, it kind of depends on the structure and the size, but just the use itself is also part of what triggered the conditional use permit. So we'd probably be looking at a conditional use permit in any case as being a new use within the plaza, depending on the scale to it. And again, we're sort of following the lead of the 1997 approval of the gazebo structure, which was kind of built not so much as a permanent, and I think the owner could probably explain that construction better than I could, but not as a fully permanent foundational kind of building.
The 1997 structure, which is still standing.
Yeah, the kiosk.
Was
yeah.
temporary.
Was temporary.
Yes.
They could come build my house.
And I mean, I think to defend the decision, I don't think anyone really thought it was exactly a temporary structure per se, but it was not built in as permanent. It was not as permanent either. So.
That's why the fire chief just left early. But and then again, just trying to go back to my memory. So is it within our power to send this to design review after, or like what are the options that we have as part of this discussion? Like, could we approve conceptually the use of it and yet not approve opening tomorrow because it needs, we feel, or maybe that it needs to go to design review to make sure it's kind of compliant with the rest of the code?
That is correct.
That's correct.
An option.
Just a related question. We don't have a resolution in front of us, correct?
No, when we haven't provided, I think, both one to make sure we get the temperature in terms of this decision, and also to identify any particular special conditions or things that may want to be implemented. And that was one of them. I think it was identified in the staff report that while haven't identified this necessarily as a structure as defined by the ordinance, and that's kind of one of the triggers for design review. Because it is a use permit, the commission has the option and opportunity to require that through design review, or else just ask for more information and detail to impose that as part of this application.
Can you remind me of the definition of structure under the ordinance? I might be in the staff report.
It was not directly in the staff report, and we can get that out, and I'll let Savannah can read it.
Per 16-100 definitions, Structure is anything that is built or constructed and requires a location on the ground, including a building, accessory structure, edifice of any kind, or a piece of work artificially built up or composed of parts. Structure does not include a fence or a wall used as a fence 3.5 feet or less in height, nor landscape features, decks, or pavement, where no part of such landscape features, decks, or pavement extends more than 3 feet above grade.
Boy, I sure wish in doing the general plan, we had thought about food trucks. We just had years of general plan work and thinking through all the
I think we'll be
possibilities.
right back here because this is a food truck with wheels that doesn't move. And we would not have thought of that, but, so, and just one more procedural, even if we approve, not that there's something to approve, even if it came back as a conditional use permit, and we were able to approve it, ultimately that has to go to town council to do the final sign off. Is that correct? No, we sign it, we're done. They could operate.
I mean, they could appeal it, but we're the final say unless it's appealed.
Yeah.
Someone could appeal.
Yeah, I was gonna say who's that? Yeah, but yes, if somebody cares, okay. I only ask for the applicants. I feel like this is going to feel clever, maybe too clever, to town council. And at some point in time, just based upon things that we have approved in the past that have been then overturned or overruled, that ultimately you'll probably want to get more alignment, which might be design review or something else. But anyway, that's just my sense. Has no bearing on the discussion tonight. I'm just offering that as something you might run into. But I do have a question based upon your presentation. You had mentioned looking at the flower shop as a viable solution. Seemed like in reading through all of this, that seemed to be yeah, that'd be great. $120,000 less great. Can you just explain, like, so if the sewage is 120 grand for the flower shop, where does the sewage go with the food truck?
Well, since it's on wheels, we can move it to, there's the San Rafael Sanitary District, and that's where I did my sewage dumps when I owned a food truck.
So you do still actually plan to move this on a regular basis?
Yeah.
But every day at 4 o'clock or just once a month when you have to do sewage? I don't know how often sewage runs happen. Sorry, just trying to understand the.
Probably once every 3-4 days, just to move it, just to get it so there's no gray water on the lawn and on the sidewalk and whatnot.
Got it. Okay. That was my main question. Other than I'm excited to hear about the dim sum restaurant.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question for the staff. Given that the flower shop was in operation without being attached to the sewage, what was the issue that it couldn't be operated now? I mean, it was in operation before, so why would he now trigger the need for the $120,000 sewage connection?
Different type of use.
Did an ordinance change or?
It was just the change of use. So they could continue a flower shop use there, assuming they wouldn't need sewer connection. But because they were proposing a coffee use, they needed to have some sort of sewer connection for that use, for their purposes.
And
For gray, like gray water.
I was gonna say, humor me, what is in the sewage? So gray water,
Not so much like, you know.
not a toilet, it's.
Gray water.
Well, and actually,
Murky water.
if I may, through the
Yeah.
whoever is chair at the moment, because coffee shops do use a lot of dairy and fat is involved, sometimes there's issues with grease. So
Ah,
that's a
okay.
very
Thank
different
you.
look than flower shop.
Yeah, I mean, sewage is a broad term, so I was just making sure I
Right.
really understand what we're talking about. Okay. Okay, and in the flower shop, they might have had water in there for the flowers, but they didn't have milky substances. Okay, I understand now. Okay.
I had a question about just your prior, you said you operated a food truck in Tiburon?
I parked it in Tiburon. I didn't
Uh,
open the doors in Tiburon.
Did you, so you would take it to the Marin Sanitary regularly to deal with the sewage. How did you handle, did you have staff? How did you manage staff? It was a question that I had, just how does that work? Because there would be a lot, you talked about emptying the recycling bins and the trash and, making sure that deliveries are at 5 a.m., not 6 a.m. And did you have staff before and or how would you manage staff here?
For the for
proposed.
my personal food truck, I had I had one other person, and we were on like a schedule. Yeah. As far as this goes,
So you were the manager.
yes.
James. Yeah.
And as far as the Paradise Coffee goes, we would have the same thing where it's a schedule. And also the designated trash units are not, they're walking distance. So it's, I would say less than 300 feet, 200 feet. It's probably the same distance as the bathroom. And that's where they would be able to dump all the compost, recycling, and trash.
And did you have, for how many years did you do that? And was it pretty smooth to manage, to run that, manage that kind of operation?
I mean, I got a lot of gray hairs because of it, but as
did.
far as managing it, it was during certain times of the year, seasons wise, it was easier than better. I mean, worse, just because of how, like, during the winter, nobody wants to go out. Everybody wants to stay home because it's cold, obviously. And then summer, we were jam packed with the huge schedule. We did on the weekends, we were at Marin Country Mart in Larkspur, and we did the food truck on Sunday as well. And then on Tuesday, we were at Strawberry Village for their food truck. For their farmers market. And then the other days, 2 other days, we were in San Francisco. I had a health permit in Marin and San Francisco, so I could travel. And we also did like private events and whatnot throughout Marin.
One question, when you talked about the public comments that you've received, it sounds like that was just your own, you were going out and talking to people and soliciting that kind of comment. You addressed the specific ones we've seen, but there's a lot of you had your presentation with other things that you've heard, and that was just your own informal.
Yeah, that was from like tenants and whatnot, or people that are looking at the trailer and like stopping by and whatnot. And I'd pass by and they'd be like, "Hey, do you know who owns this? Or do you know when it's going to be open? We're excited, this and that." Yeah.
Just kind of doing your own due
Yeah.
diligence and research. Yeah. I'm checking my notes, but I think that's
enough for the applicant. Anyone else? Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask a
hold on.
question of the applicant through the chair?
Sure.
Because this wasn't exactly clear in the application materials that in fact it would be moved on a regular basis in order to drain the gray water. The question I had is, how does it get moved? If it's going to happen every 3 to 4 days,
With the truck, with the F-150 or 250 that can pull it.
over
That's how we got
where?
it on there.
Over the sidewalk,
Yeah, we
off
coned
the
it off.
grass over the sidewalk?
hmm
Okay.
We coned it off, and then made a little wood ramp, to get it onto the property. And we'll obviously, make sure it's more structurally sound and whatnot, than just wood. Yeah.
Okay, very well. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to open the public hearing period. Anyone in the room like to make a comment? You have 3 minutes and just state your name. Yes, no? Oh, you'd have to do it at the microphone because we have people online who are listening to us. So if
You gotta go.
you're not at the microphone, not everyone will hear you because we have online audience.
You gotta talk in the microphone.
Anything, yeah, anything about this issue you can talk about, and you have 3 minutes. And please state your name first.
Chong Cook.
Thank you.
Well, first, people, neighbors or passerby want some coffee shop at the gazebo. So I had him hire some architect and spend $6,000-7,000, and end up getting 2 bids because the shoreline had to connected across street, the main It's end up cost 100, one came 120, one was 150 and more and on and on. I wasn't gonna spend 150,000 for 10 by 12 shack. So I told them just to demolish or do something, or storage. Then I guess that's, I'm interested in coffee trailers, why not? And they're getting, somebody mentioned about the letter there about vacant spaces nearby. I do not have vacant spaces in my property. We have no vacant space. So trailer is the only one is have it, and flower gazebo has been applied for about a year ago or so, 8 months ago, but they're still waiting for conditional permit. I don't know exactly what she's waiting for, but flowers and some dry goods, or like pet food. I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but that's what's applied. Still waiting for conditional permit. So it's been rented 8, 9 months ago. So I have no vacant spaces. Somebody mentioned about vacant spaces. Zelensky's may have, Lolly has some vacant spaces, but Jungkook does not have vacant spaces, the plaza. And about the trailer, the wheels, I care more about appearance than anyone else. I want to make a plaza one of the best looking place. So, I don't think anybody should be concerned about the appearance. I'm not gonna make it just, even though I do not own the trailer, but I own the facilities and I make it very nice looking. So let them have some business.
Okay,
Thank you.
you very much. Anyone else in the room, in the audience would like to speak? I'm seeing none. So Chris, is there anyone online who would like to speak?
We have no public comments.
Okay, then I will close the public comment period. Applicant, you do have another 5 minutes if you'd like to rebut anything you've heard. I'm not sure you haven't really heard any opposition, so, but you have 5 minutes. Like to use some of it, you're totally welcome to.
This will take 2 seconds. Anyways, just like my mother mentioned, she's very, very nitpicky, and I've mentioned it as well. She's very nitpicky on the appearance of her property. It's been in her blood, and it's been in the family for over 30 years before I was born. So for her to bring this idea, for us to bring this idea towards her, we actually had to rewrap the truck. It was like a bright yellow. It would have stood out like a sore thumb. And then as far as like a bunch of letters, it's particularly Mr. David Irma's, says that it would block a bunch of view. And I've talked about it during the presentation, and I've talked about it afterwards as well. It doesn't block any view. I've stood in every square inch of that property where it would block some sort of view. I talked to the office that Digital Foundry about how if they were okay with it there, or if we need to move it or whatnot, because they've been there for over 20 years as well. And they said, no, it looks perfect there, it blends in and whatnot. The only thing they said was, when is it open? So we can support you guys. But I mean, that's a, different question, different time. As far as it demeaning the plaza as well, like I want to hone in on that. It does not demean the plaza at all. We changed the colors to fit the plaza. And I mean, I think that everybody has walked through downtown and looked at it, or hopefully. And, I'm here to say that we're willing to make changes to the appearance of the truck so it can blend in with the town of Tiburon in general, particularly with the Point Terminal Plaza. But yeah, that's all I need to say. Cool, thank you.
Okay, thank
Wait,
you very much.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wait, we have another question.
Yeah, now
You must have raised something.
you did, or your mom did. This might be, so combination to you and the staff. I'm a little confused in that if the operations that are going to be done in here every 3 to 4 days, you can truck them out and take them to the dump, the sewage, the gray water, whatever it is we're calling it. Couldn't you still perform the same operations inside of the flower shop and then whatever, have your, cistern or something that you're effectively dumping into that can then be taken to the dump every 3 to 4 days? Or could you have a smaller version of this next to the flower shop that collected all of your, sewage waste, whatever, that then was taken every 3 to 4 days? Is the limitation something that the town has imposed upon you and maybe just perfectly acceptably by code, or is there something else that I'm missing?
So, so I did talk to the sanitary district about that. As far as they said that it was, we'd have to set up a grease trap and have to be connected to the main line downtown. I did bring up that fact where, we could do it in buckets or, have an alternative way in order to remove the gray water. They said, no, unfortunately, because there is, quote unquote, grease, you have to go through the sewer system rather than, whether it was an alternative route where it just gets collected in a box and then that box gets brought to a dumping site or whatnot. I did have that question when I was trying to start it in the gazebo itself.
So and again, maybe you have the answer, maybe we have the answer, but so grease on wheels is okay. Grease on no wheels is not okay and has to be like plumbed permanently, even though the structure is, I guess, ostensibly not a permanent structure if it was in the flower shop. So.
That's pretty self-contained.
Well, I think you're kind of hitting the point is that and the
Not sure
difference
I am.
between a structure versus, and I don't know if Savannah has anything to add to that, but you're leaning for it. The permitting, and I think between the health department and the building department and the sanitary department, that's kind of where the lines get drawn because it is a mobile, mobile truck, and like food trucks, mobile food vendors, is kind of how they function. It wasn't clear to us at this level, because this has been kind of back and forth from some building review as part of the kiosk location versus this new proposal, but that's I think where that's the point. Yeah, it's one can be contained and taken away like food trucks or food vendors versus a flower shop where then it's either connected to the system and that, I don't know, like there's no sort of a standard accepted alternative operation to handling water waste,
And what time of the day would if you're going to Marin Sanitary, does that happen I don't think they're open well, maybe they do open, or I'm sure they do open early, but is that a 5 a.m. kind of a thing? That hasn't been addressed, because this is kind of a new plan that you're.
So unfortunately, they're open from 8 to 5. So it'd be immediately right after service. We just hook it on the trailer.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
4 to 5.
Good luck getting down Tiburon Boulevard. 30 minutes, but.
Do you want more gray hair? No.
I sort of circle back to it seems like the most elegant solution is the solution that's already there, which is the flower shop. Did I hear, has that now been? That's been there's an application.
I think there's an application for some other, yeah.
The flower shop has been rented.
Mm-hmm. They're planning on doing flower arrangements again. And then I believe they're going to be doing dry goods from Sicily. And I know that's a different permit, obviously, because
interesting.
Because it's not flowers, but yeah, that's what
Got it.
And she's been in that process since February.
Welcome to Tiburon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we,
Okay,
to the
any other
second
questions?
question.
for the-
Just
I-
quickly,
No.
I would like to just clarify, we did receive a business license for a flower shop use at that location last week.
Got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, so no other questions for the applicant. Thank you very much.
He's received a license, but is there an application for a conditional use permit or, I mean, pending?
Since it's the same use,
Ah, okay,
it'll be use for use.
got it.
Okay, so now I will bring back the discussion to the planning commissioners. We've been starting with Commissioner Woodward, so I'm going to start with Commissioner Amir.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the applicant and presenting it. Yeah, I mean, this is obviously something different than what we usually see here. And I've also kind of read the letters as well. Look, overall, I do think this meets kind of the general plan compliance, and and especially as we want to encourage more business downtown. So I definitely support it. I'm less concerned about the whole competition aspect, et cetera. I actually don't think that's really the planning commission's job. I mean, so there's 2 coffee shops, or there could be 3. I mean, as long as it, I think, meets the requirements from a business perspective of what fits the area. And I'm also not really concerned about the parking part either, because frankly, I don't think that this is not a parking issue. I mean, people who buy coffee downtown are people who are going to walk to the ferry or are just going to be bikers or people walking. So I don't think the parking is an issue, et cetera. I don't really have the issues with the hours of operation. The only issue which I'm still referring to, maybe what my Commissioner Woodward a bit mentioned, is that there seems to be a situation where the truck might be, I'm just hypothetically saying, might be brown, might be white, might be a little bigger, a little smaller, might have a box covering, the wheels. So I'm not necessarily against the actual CUP for this. My opinion is I'm fine with the CUP aspect. It's more the aspect of that this does seem to be something that does need a DRB opinion on this, because this is still not a permanent structure, so that's kind of the way. It could be looked at something as more something permanent that does need some sort of opinion on that. Yeah, outside that, that's kind of my take on this. So.
All right, Commissioner Williams.
You can jump in. Yeah. It's this is an interesting one. I actually have similar thoughts to Commissioner Amir. I think I think when I look at the general plan and our policies and our goals of the new general plan, this really meets a lot of those goals, and it's just something new and different. We're trying to encourage gathering places and vitality and pedestrian friendly businesses, and we know there are people who would love a grab and go coffee before getting the ferry. So that was a really, really important fact, actually, that there's no easy way to get coffee at 6, 7 a.m. And I think let's try it. I don't feel like it's such a it's a fairly contained kind of use. I think it'd be interesting to see how it works out, how it's managed, how popular it becomes. Some issues may emerge. I think we can address those if they do. But at the same time, it doesn't feel fully baked yet. I think that's what I'm struggling with is, it'd be the concept of the plantings and the box and maybe when the concept is a little more fully baked, and that might be in the time that, depending on how we decide, if we say, hey, we think a CUP, a draft resolution, could come back to us with certain specifications, between this time and that time, there could be some more information for us. For example, the managing of the gray water, that's kind of come up tonight. That might be more, you can explain that a bit more, going forward. I think that would be really helpful. I think also seeing a concept and seeing this box and your vision for that might inform whether there's DRB review or not, including maybe some more additional work, research by the staff. So I kind of think it had something new and vibrant, and I really appreciate it. I did appreciate what you said about it's okay to change up the town a little bit, maybe appeal to a more youthful, youthful residents, youthful visitors. People love food trucks, and it's a way to really create a vibrant community that does have gatherings and convenings. And so why not give people who've worked in the town and lived in the town an opportunity to do something new and the entrepreneurial. So I'm also supportive generally of this use. I definitely want to see more. And I think the points that you've already pointed out, being very sure that the conditions are that deliveries are early in the morning and that, the gray water is taken out at regular intervals that make sense and that are appropriate. Those types of conditions I'd really want to see. But generally the 6 a.m. to 5 to 4 p.m. hours sound reasonable to me. But I'd want to know more about your deliveries, and I'd want to see that in writing.
Commissioner Woodward.
I think I'm torn on this one for a number of reasons. I mean, first off, if by February I can one-stop shop dim sum, flowers, and a latte, I'm going to be a very popular man in my household. So there's that side of things, and I'm all for. I'm very pro commerce, and we've spent a lot of time in the 2040 plan. I think you could have 10 coffee shops downtown and a lot more people would come downtown, maybe different variations of them. I think you obviously see that in Paris all over the place, and it doesn't stop people from, coming. In fact, I think it increases it. So I think it probably ultimately ends up being good for Cafe Acri, or they decide to open earlier, and that's good for commuters. On the other side of it is I'm really torn because it does seem like a permanent, non-permanent structure. And I was actually sort of relieved that you do plan to remove it every 3 to 4 days, because it makes it feel a little bit less like the mobile homes that are clearly not mobile. And yet kind of get this whole umbrella under the theory that they have wheels on them. So I'm torn about how that will ultimately play out. I do think getting a design review, although I'm confident your mother is probably the strongest design reviewer you'll ever see, getting the town stamp will probably be helpful. And importantly, I would at least throw it into Gemini or some AI and just mock up what it will look like so that people can get a visual for it. Because I think seeing the trailer hitch and seeing the wheels actually makes it look less appealing, clearly, than what it will at the end look like. And I wouldn't compare it to a food truck, because I think food trucks have a very different connotation and look to them. This does look, especially now it's been wrapped or painted, whatever you've done, in character with the plaza and right next to the flower shop. And you can make that all blend together, I'm confident, and look beautiful. I would certainly mock that up beforehand. But I would expect, whether it's through this commission, through an appeal, our town council getting involved, et cetera, that ultimately you're going to have some sort of design review input. That's just my expectation. But otherwise, given that we're not being asked for anything tonight, but in general, we would be giving a conditional use permit for some period of time, 12 months likely. That's a pretty easy ask to, get opinions back. And of course, before we do that, we already got 4 late letters today, right? I'm sure we'll have a lot more public input. But again, I think a number, based upon what I've seen in the letters, a number of those will go away as soon as you can get up that landscaping, screening, and whatnot around there, and hopefully serve really good coffee that tends to make people happy. So,
thank you. Yeah, I actually agree that I don't think it's going to be a visual problem. I mean, we're hearing from the applicant, the wheels could be covered with some nice plants and, you know, you could cover the hitch. My concern is more the law, basically. So if you look at the ordinances, they're not drafted for this situation. You know, we don't have anything that addresses mobile food trucks or mobile anything. And so I just worry we're going to set a precedence that then we regret. And it has nothing to do with the applicant, because if anyone's going to be the right person to bring this, it's going to be someone with experience with a food truck. I mean, we have a really nice an applicant who's qualified to do that in front of us, but we don't have the test for this. So I look at, you know, and thank you again to the staff, but I look at the zoning ordinance and I look at the master plan, and it just, none of it was written to anticipate this. So I hesitate on, I mean, we're not being asked to approve or disapprove today, but I really hesitate on going too far in any of the analysis, because I don't, what do we apply? The zoning ordinance is clearly written for permanent structures because it's talking about the location and the development of the neighborhood around it. And are the uses for this location compatible with the types of uses around it? Are there adequate facilities and services, which I would assume would include the gray matter issue, to serve the location? We're not talking about trucks, you know, that's not, food trucks aren't anticipated under this zoning ordinance. And then the fifth criteria that says whether the town is adequately served by similar uses presently existing. We have a lot of coffee shops. And again, this is not a criticism of the applicant, and I am all pro competition and pro revitalization. I mean, how many times have we talked about how the town needs to have more varied uses, and we need to be careful about too many offices and not enough retail or not enough restaurant, and we don't want empty spaces. And I commend our owner of Point Tiburon to keep things, to keep tenants. Thank you very much, to keep tenants in Point Tiburon. That's what we like to hear on the Planning Commission, full occupancy. But I wonder how this impacts that larger picture, because when you're looking at occupancy also of these businesses, and we're usually so strict about what we allow in and what we don't allow in, if we start allowing in food trucks because, well, they're not permanent and they don't need to satisfy all of these zoning sections, I think we've opened a box maybe we don't intend to open. So I think this requires some more thought. And I don't know, maybe back to the staff, you know,
Actually,
should we ask for a new ordinance? I mean, what should we be doing?
And also a related question on the precedent, because I was thinking about one concern I had, because this clearly is also the precise plan. This is a little bit unique because of the location within the plaza. And so it's not a food truck over in a parking lot by the bank. This is very specific to this location. But what is interesting is that we are looking to the gazebo as the precedent. And so you do one thing and that becomes a precedent. Is there a way within a CUP to say, look, this is very specific request. This is a request that is this unique use, you know, is appropriate, but this is not precedent per se for food trucks throughout the plaza. Is there a way to condition that?
It's possible you could condition it to say, you know, only one type of trailer like this, you know, describe it as a condition in the CUP approval.
Yeah.
In which case you'd limit this.
Yeah.
Because it's in between. It's neither a food truck. It's not motorized, right? You can't really just drive it off, but it's also not a structure.
Right.
And we've read the definition just like you did. Is there a way to read it as a structure? It's you know, so it's not quite a structure, but it's not quite a food truck. It's sort of in between.
Yeah.
So I would maybe a condition in the CUP approval that says this trailer is only one of these can be.
Yeah. And actually not even
in
that's
the
very
Point
important,
Tiburon
not
Plaza.
calling it a food truck, calling it a coffee trailer, and it's just one trailer, because I don't necessarily think, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if it came back to some sort of opinion on this, but I think because of the we're not just looking at, we're looking at the point, I'm sorry.
Point Tiburon.
Point
precise
Tiburon
plan.
development and that, and what's allowed specifically there. I don't think this is a precedent for all of Tiburon, but I do wonder if we can limit it or in such a way that it doesn't become a precedent in the way the gazebo did. Like, oh, the gazebo's there and that's okay, so we can keep doing these things, these one-offs.
Like, without getting prescriptive back to saying it's got to have a Bose LS 100, speaker on it,
Yeah.
and then it's approved. I do think what the applicant laid out, which was sort of, is maybe because of the familiarity of growing up and having this, available to them. I think you didn't give yourself enough credit to many things, which are access to restrooms, the ability to put additional trash facilities, like a food truck can't just manifest, I mean, maybe they can with porta potties or something, but can't just manifest bathrooms for employees. Parking, we heard, would be in the back of Point Tiburon. So if you actually went through our traditional approval process, you'd be looking for, are there parking spaces?
Totally.
Are there bathroom facilities? Do they have the right trash
You
ability?
take it on its own, on its merits.
Yeah, on its merits. And so if somebody can come up with another option like that, like in the parking lot that Ms. Zelensky owns, since we brought that up, and they can also have those same things, great.
Right.
Then, sort of meet the
Yeah.
whatever 5, 6, 7 criteria. And I would think that potentially design review lays out a few other things, but that to me is why this felt more viable than a food truck showing up every day at 5:30 and leaving every day at 4 and being parked in the middle of the square.
I think that's
I
a
tend to
really
agree.
good. Yeah, absolutely,
So I
absolutely.
feel like we could write that in.
I think so. We write it in.
Very easily and kind of, and again, this might be a skinnier version than what if you were setting up Sam's 2.0, which we've already gone through. But something that still had meaningful meat and teeth to it that you couldn't just do this anywhere. But I mean, I could easily see this being a viable interim solution at Shark's Deli, right? Like at some point, like somebody's just like, we got to use this space and we've got bathrooms in there and but we don't want to open, so.
Yep.
Okay, maybe, but do we
Okay,
want to
got
have
that,
5 food trucks just show up there every day at noon?
Yeah. No,
Probably
yeah,
not,
yeah.
right?
But like you said, that does go through a process of review.
Yeah.
It's not like this, you just ministerially get to put food trucks everywhere. It goes through the process.
Yeah, that's why I do think that there is another entity except us that needs to go through this still.
Well, let's say we had a food truck parked in Shark's Deli and people complained and it ended up in front of us. What would we do? I mean, my problem is I don't know what we're applying. And if we're applying the regular CUP for an actual location, that may not even be fair to the applicant. So I'm still not comfortable. Like, let's say we did have a food truck in front of us at a different location.
Well, I guess, let me try to make sure I understand the question is what would be the rules like that might apply to if someone presented a food truck
Right.
at that location? And for one, the zoning is a bit different. It's not the neighborhood commercial. It is the mixed use. But it probably allows for similar types of uses as optional in terms of retail and food service and so on.
That location.
At that location. But we would, the fact is that when there's no prescribed use for food trucks in general, for mobile food trucks and mobile vendors, this particular site has the precise plan that allows for new uses and has a precedent of allowing somewhat temporary structures within a plaza area. And so it's really under the guise of that condition that opened the door. We don't have what you'd call a classic food truck type.
So what you're saying is basically this is a very specific situation that kind of fits this box in a way, which might not exist anywhere else in Tiburon, possibly, you know.
What do you think? I'm gonna look at my council to kind of help out with this.
I'm gonna say it
We've
depends,
gone in some
but-
circles on this
But
question.
in this case, you know, the PDP allows for a mix of retail and neighborhood serving commercial uses, and the code allows a new use to be approved subject to a use permit and consistency with the PDP. So in this case, the idea is you would decide if this is, you know, a neighborhood serving use, and you're deliberating on the CUP, and you are authorized to approve a new type of use or new, you know, in this particular plaza. We would still evaluate on a case by case for consistency with the PDP, but it is a narrow, I think that's, you know, what Neil was trying to say, is that it is a narrow approval insofar as you're looking at a new use in this particular plaza. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Does that allay a concern that you have that it sort of opens the door to, I mean, for me, it does, because we're looking at the PDP, we're not, it's that narrow specific to the PDP, what the PDP allows in conjunction with the.
Your authority to
Yeah.
approve a new use based, you know, on the code, which allows you to approve a new use subject to a CUP.
Yeah, it's really an unusual situation,
And-
given that.
I mean, the PDP or the code, they don't speak to this, right? So it's.
Right, yeah, well, and Commissioner Woodward already really said what you just said, it's unusual, and the applicant has allayed concerns about bathrooms and gray matter, and it's an unusual use, but he's spent the effort, you know, to make sure that it could comply in that particular spot.
And really what we're asking for here is just for the staff to go back and work with the applicant and make a resolution that reflects this discussion and any additional information that may come to their attention around what would override or you know, opine on this. So, and give us a chance to then have, to Commissioner Williams' original point, feel like this is fully baked.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
I would also add, just if there's any condition or sort of requirement that we go to design review, it would be great if the commission could determine that this is a structure, because our standards apply to structures. So when we go to the DRB, we need to be able to tell them what are the standards they're applying to review this structure. So you could make it explicit in the condition that for the purposes of design review, this is a structure. I know it's.
I think
this
that,
would- yeah.
at least from my perspective, I think that that's something we need staff to
Yeah,
to weigh in.
I'm not qualified.
I mean,
Would that not trigger other requirements?
right.
Or
Because
other
we
structures.
considered, you know, if this is going to go to design review, right? We looked at the code, and the standards for design review apply to structures. So, and it's here because is this you know, does this fit the definition of a structure? And so if we go to design review, what are the standards the design review board is going to use to evaluate?
I feel like there is sort of a legal analysis in there, though, that
Yeah.
we're not really able to make. I mean, part of it is looking at how do you interpret structure?
I mean,
You
it
know,
doesn't
the
move.
definition
You
that
can say
needs
if it
to be
doesn't
there.
move, this is a structure, but they move it every 4 days.
Yeah.
And are there other jurisdictions that have similar issues
So-
or case law on it? I don't know. I just don't know how structures interpret.
Yeah.
I was confident this was a
Feel like-
structure coming in, and then I heard it moved, and then I was like, oh, there goes that. So
Yeah, so I think that's where it comes in. I mean, if you say, you know, because a food truck is not a structure, but you know, this technically, I actually approached this more as a structure. Well, that's why I said maybe it needs to go to design review board, but I could understand the argument that every 4 days this moves.
But it's a
So-
movable, it's a
So it's,
movable trailer.
so I think that's exactly, it's a movable trailer.
It-
I
it
mean,
would be great.
that's really what it is.
see what other jurisdictions have done on the topic, because clearly this is not the first movable trailer.
Yeah, and I think once you have recommendation, I mean, I don't think our decision is difficult if we have just the opinion, because I think it's very, I think we're very open at least I'm very open to like going either way if I understand what the definition is. You
I
know?
think if it's parked for at least 72 hours, it has to be wrapped like Point Tiburon.
Yeah.
That seems to be the most straightforward.
I mean, the same colors.
Yeah, every vehicle in Tiburon that doesn't move for 72 hours becomes a structure and has to be wrapped.
That would be, that would be quite a precedent.
That's, yes, so that's the only concern. But I'm sure that our staff can find some additional guidance.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be a legal brief or anything, but maybe some guidance.
I'm just trying to check. I'm sorry if I'm not browsing the internet. I'm checking a few.
Who won the game?
code
The Warriors
things.
ahead?
I think that, yeah, the idea is if you're looking for an
We haven't made a
approval,
very good impression on you, have we now?
you could say maybe for the purposes of the design review, you know, the design review board could use the standards that they use, you know, so it just, I mean, it's up to you how we,
I would be open to you doing a little bit of research on
Yeah.
it, coming back to us with a recommendation. Like this doesn't need to go to DRB for this reason, or it should go to DRB for this reason. I really would be fine with a recommendation that you make based on your analysis. Is that, with that?
Are we just
mean-
concerned about how long until we meet again and then meet again?
Well,
I would,
Well-
Todd, you're also empowered to do, you know, if you want to do design review board, most cities, you know, planning commission, you can make recommendations.
Send it off.
You
to
know,
the-
you
yeah.
can say, I want it
so
to be
hard
this,
without a
I want it to look
concept.
that.
For me, it's a little
You can
hard.
do that in your jurisdiction as a planning commission.
Well, what I'm tripping up on is what led to the DRB discussion was this actual shed.
Right.
It
the
wasn't
plans.
the movable trailer, it was the shed. So we don't have that before.
Yeah.
So it's hard I feel like it's putting the shed before the,
The trailer.
Well, but we also had concern letters about the appearance, so I think that was the
Yeah.
other reason.
The
It
color
would
and
add
the-
another.
but we can
Level.
deal with appearance. I mean, we
Yeah.
deal with landscaping. We don't have
You
to
can.
send that. We wouldn't send, we do that all the time as part of our conditional use permits. Put
That's
some
true.
pretty plants and
That's actually.
I don't think that's a good use of DRB's time, to be
Well,
honest.
that's actually where I think I come out now, thinking that it's not really a structure. Because it is movable, and not only is it movable like a mobile home, but they actually intend to move it. They have to move it every few days
They do. Mm-hmm.
to deal with it. And
Mhm.
as such, then it does not feel like it's, because again, the risk otherwise being every vehicle that's parked for 72 hours or longer, you know, is
Yeah.
gonna.
Yeah.
If
fall
I
into-
can-
No, I mean,
If
and
I-
that's the
agree.
definition aspect. Like,
Yeah,
if
if-
you say this can be moved, therefore not a structure, then that's the
Yeah.
answer. This is not a structure.
And it's really
I mean-
evolved. I mean, we went from what we thought was a kind of fixed vehicle trailer with a shed attached to it to something that every few days is going, and
Yeah.
it could be
Right.
more of a box. So I
And
guess that what we would say is there shouldn't be a shed attached to it, and it shouldn't be a fixed. I mean, that wouldn't be,
If I can, and I think the whole intent of this shed is more of like a box to cover the trailer
Okay, so
top.
it's not
and
a-
It would
Yeah, I
be
don't think it's a
mobile
box.
because they'd have to move. it.
that's what I was
Okay.
saying.
It's not going to be a fixed
Fine.
structure.
So maybe this is not a,
Standing
therefore it's not a
has evolved.
structure.
So
Yeah.
I think we're moving away from it's a structure.
Then it's
If
not
I
a
can,
structure.
if I can clarify something, this is, because I think in assisting with the report, that was my kind of direction, that it could be an option for the planning commission to recommend or require design review, regardless of our determination that it's a structure. Much of the criteria for design review is based around language about structures, but the guiding principles themselves for the design review decision are based on the project. Site plan adequacy, proper relation of the project to its site. Site layout in relation to adjoining sites, location of proposed improvements. So as I go through the various principles that are the basis of making design review decisions, they're not as clearly tied to quote structure as
Well, if that's the case, then I definitely think this should go to design review because you have the project. It needs to fit it does need to fit the area. It may not be a structure based on some of the discussion, but there's There's a,
I just
Don't you
think it's
think?
too early to tell because we don't have the concept, the full concept for the project. We don't have, what else, if we're just talking about a trailer, what we see in the picture, I don't think that should go to, why does that need to go to design review?
I was actually going.
Sorry, I didn't mean.
I was sort of going that, I would propose that we ask staff to, put on their design review hats, which they wear half the time, and then bring us back a proposal that
Mhm.
incorporates the design review
Yeah, okay,
aspects
I'm
that we
fine
would
with that.
want to
Yeah.
apply through planning commission, which is within our right for a conditional use permit. Ergo kind of getting to what
Mhm.
we ultimately want to achieve, the unification of this plus meeting the site qualifications. And we still opine on it as a conditional use because it's a movable structure.
I would,
Okay.
But-
Yeah,
We'll
I-
do-
I'm
we'll
fine
do
with
double
that.
duty.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Conveniently, right after Chair DeFever steps down.
Oh, I wonder who'll be.
Put on our.
Yeah, I agree. I think more information would be helpful because it's unprecedented, but it sounds like in its unprecedented nature, it's in the right location to still be something that doesn't set a precedent for other applications. So I think that's where we've landed. I'm seeing nodding. So maybe
Yep.
we think about it a little bit more, we get some more language, and
Okay.
we come back and discuss it again.
So are
Okay.
continuing it?
I think that's. a
Well,
good
it's up to
idea.
you. Yeah, we need the information.
We
Can't-
can't,
or deny
we can't
today.
approve, we don't have a resolution.
No,
to
we're
adopt, so we
looking
have.
for a more
it has to come
detailed
back to us,
resolution
yeah.
with,
Yeah.
with working with the applicant to give them more clarity based upon staff's knowledge of design review requirements that we would want to apply as the planning commission and this conditional use permit.
Because sometimes you can approve and say, staff bring back a resolution approving, but in this case, it sounds like you're not making a decision.
Well, so,
Or are you?
no,
Right.
Or are you, because you can make a decision and say,
yeah,
staff bring back a resolution approving the project or denying the project with X conditions, and then that resolution would be reviewed at the next meeting.
Mhm.
Or you can, move to just continue it with direction for specific information.
well, it's not so much that we want, I personally don't want to come back and have another conversation about it. I'd like to come back and look at a draft resolution, but I don't feel like I have, that I would be inclined to approve, but I don't, but the detail around how that hitch is covered, we don't have, we don't.
Are there 2 parking spaces? Is it 1 bathroom per
Yeah,
person?
we
Does
just
it have
don't have all the
to be from
information.
The curb, I mean, what usually comes in front of us for a
Yeah.
conditional use permit is very detailed information about all these things. And we're like, yes, they did get 3 parking spaces and they paid for an extra one, check. And yes, they did, so that's, we need to see all that information for us to be able to then give approval. I think you're at least hearing generally, it sounds like kind of inclined for that to happen, but more clarity.
So it sounds like we would continue, ask for more information. You want a resolution, potentially approving the project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would,
Conditions or some of the
Yeah.
conditions we've mentioned.
yeah.
I don't think anybody is against the concept
No.
of having, having the coffee there,
Maybe
Eh.
it should be something like moving to continue and direct staff to bring back a resolution approving the project with, and then you could say the
Yeah.
specific information you're looking for.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'd like to see also in the spirit of fairness to any other vendor in town that we're just as rigorous with this, even though it's different. Even though it's got its own attributes that sound like they might fit only in this one location. I want to make sure we've been fair and we've been just as rigorous with this. And as you were saying, with
Yeah.
all the little
Yeah.
details, otherwise it's
Yeah.
not fair to the other vendors that we have considered CUPs for.
And it's hard to even, we could do a motion to continue with direction to staff to come back with a resolution, a draft resolution conditionally approving
Mhm.
the project, but addressing the issues that we've identified tonight, including but not limited to, confirmation of the hours of operation, the hours of pickup and delivery and
Sanitation.
sanitation, management of wastewater,
Yep.
and parking.
Mhm.
How the hitch will be
Right.
handled, covered. What am I missing?
Also, how, and I think he addressed this, but I'd like more detail on it, how they're moving the trailer on the grass, because when it's wet, we don't want the grass to be all
Right,
filled.
that-
And I think he's addressed it, but I'd like to see more detail.
The wastewater management plan.
I had that on my notes as something you might condition, actually. Wastewater and waste management.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was all kind of part of a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I got it. So it would be a motion to continue and come back with a resolution conditionally approving the project and addressing the issues below, including but not limited to the following issues. So confirmation of hours, pickup delivery hours, sanitation, wastewater, parking, how the hitch will be handled in terms of the design and in general, and moving the trailer on the grass. Are there any other things that you might explicitly want to call out?
Just looking at my notes, that's what I jotted down.
I would, I think the applicant made a number of,
Landscaping.
Okay.
yeah, like the wheels, but a number of statements addressing kind of potential concerns or maybe even stated concerns. And although he said that that is what they would do, it would be great to clarify those in the resolution. So there were things like no external noise, yeah, no music, or amplified music of certain types. And then I think, let's see.
Chairs.
Yeah, right. No separate seating, no alcohol. And then I think the rest of the stuff we picked up, but,
Okay.
but again, you know, and I think ultimately the overall guidance is we don't want to wake up one day, January 1st, and, you know, have a very successful coffee shop and then have 50 replicas on every corner of Tiburon. And maybe we do, but let's get the one done first and
Yeah.
see, and then decide.
Okay.
Okay.
I can second that now, right?
Okay.
Is that council looks like? she's-
No, I think I have it. No, I think I've got everything I need, unless there's anything else. I just wanted
Okay.
to make sure
Okay, well, we-
everyone feel like got what we need in this motion.
we have a motion and a second. Chris, a roll call.
Can you clarify who made the motion? I made the motion. It was just a really long, like run-on sentence
It was a very.
with lots of
Yeah.
voices.
Mr. Woodward was.
Commissioner Woodward seconded.
Sandy be vice chair.
Commissioner Muir,
Aye.
Commissioner DeFever,
Aye.
Commissioner Woodward,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Hi.
Okay, I think, well, let me, before I close, say congratulations, Commissioner Amir, you're now the chair, and Commissioner Woodward, you're the vice chair. So be careful what you wish for, and this issue is coming back to you as well. And I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.